good manager wouldn't have let me do the things I was doing.
Yeah.
And there was one 12-month period where I fought 26 professional fights.
Yeah.
Right. I would go into fights not being able to throw a punch because my hand was broken, or
Right.
my shins were so banged up from people checking my kicks the weekend before. I couldn't hardly put weight on my legs. It was just
Johnathan, the Landlocked Monster, Ivey.
We all know each other from one big fight. Tristan, can you just switch that back? Um, and that fight was really kind of interesting for me because that fight was my last one that I promoted. And it turned out, just a little background on that fight before we get into it.
We talking about it, Harris?
Yeah, Harris.
Right, right.
Yeah. So having Johnathan come into that one was a big deal.
He was the biggest like superstar we ever had on
Yeah.
one of our cards.
Yeah, on the card.
superstar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which who was the guy that we had in that came in? Mark
Matt Hamill,
Matt Hamill. That's right.
the deaf UFC fighter.
Yeah, he came in and did a show.
He was there. Josh Shockman, UFC vet, was also there.
Yeah, so we built up to that level, and dude, that after that, that's when Jerry, my partner,
Got
he
cancer.
got cancer.
Yeah.
That show with Harrah's, we couldn't bring people in over under 21.
Mm.
So we lost a lot of our general admission, and then Harrah's
Right.
gave away a bunch of the VIP chairs, and so yeah, it was a $10,000 loss that night.
Damn.
Yeah, everybody loved the fight though. I think it was a great
Yeah.
show.
Yeah, great show.
But and it looked pretty good because you had all those VIP filled in, but the generals was where we were going to make money. Yeah,
I mean, as far as how the show looked and everything, that was the best one we ever put on
yeah,
of probably any of them. I
yeah.
think.
Well, here's my biggest problem in most everything I do. It's like when Harold Dick was doing shows. You remember Harold Dick, Jonathan?
Oh,
I'm sure you.
vaguely.
Yeah,
Harold and Brandy.
we did the couple together, and Harold would come out there with a boom box and a cage about
Yeah.
half up,
Yeah.
see just a couple. It was just rough, and I'd go out and spend all kinds of time and money. I wanted it to look a certain way. I
Right.
wanted it to look as good as possible, and we'd make the same amount of money, or he'd make more than me because I spend too much.
You
That's
have
the way it
overhead.
worked. Yeah. So that was my biggest thing. But and then after that show, I sold my cage to Ron Daly, and that brings us to you because that's how I got you involved. Knew about you mostly was through you and Ron. And
Wow. I
yeah,
haven't heard that name in probably 10, 15
yeah,
years.
we've
Wow, that's a blast from the past.
yeah, Ron is actually going to be on this show. I've talked to him
Oh,
back
heck.
and forth. Yeah, he's a completely out of the fight game now, but I think he's doing real estate. But anyways, I wanted to get to that. So I want to go from there. I want to go back to like where you started, how you got, and then bring you up to that Ron Daly part, and then we'll go from there. So
Yeah.
how did it all start? I mean, what got you into it? What style did you start at?
Well, I didn't have a style. There was never. Listen, Danny, you come from a martial
I
arts
thought
background.
Thug Jitsu. I thought you was the first time I heard that.
Yeah,
I
Thug
thought,
Jitsu, right?
wasn't it?
That came later on. See,
But it was the first time I'd ever heard it. Was out of your mouth.
okay,
No,
yep,
I
from
thought
this
I was
area.
a pro wrestler. It's where I come from.
Right.
Okay.
Danny
Joe
started
was
training with
laughing at
me.
me trying to do a scorpion deathlock.
Yeah,
You know,
Okay.
yeah.
I was playing college football, and
where
uh,
at? What college?
I was at Bethel College. See, I played high school football down in Texas. Well, I got a
Okay,
scholarship up here. That's what brought me to Tennessee.
okay,
So I'm up in here playing NAIA, 2 years for that, and I transferred to Austin P, which was in Clarksville, but they were NCAA. So back then there was no transfer portal like today. So
right.
you had to have a year of classes before you were eligible to play football. So during that year, I was doing bench press contests. I was pretty good at it back then.
Yeah.
But so
I
I was
can
doing it,
attest
and I
for
met a guy at a
that.
bench press contest who was the hook and shoot heavyweight champion.
Okay, I remember
This was
hook
on
and
a
shoot.
Wednesday night.
Right.
He got 2 days later. He said, "Ride with me to Evansville." I just went up there to watch. Somebody didn't show up, so he goes, "Buddy, you're strong enough to get in there and fight them." I said, "I don't know what I'm doing." Well, he had showed me two moves after this
Right.
contest a couple days
Right.
earlier. Well, I ended up choking the first cop. They had me fight a cop first. I choked
Yeah.
him, and then
Convicts and criminals or something like that. Cops versus convicts. I
they did
remember that.
something, and I choked the cop, and then I lost in the second guy. And Jeff Osborne was the hook and shoot was a big deal back then,
Right.
guys.
Right.
It
Yeah.
was UFC and Pride, and then right underneath that was hook and shoot and King of the Cage back
Yep.
then, right?
Yep.
And hook and shoot ended up just going strictly amateur. But back then, I mean, they had all the UFC vets fighting for them. So I went up there and he said, "Come back tomorrow night, John. You did so well. We're going to be at the Coliseum tomorrow night. Come back. We want you back." Beat the guy in 12 seconds the next night. Jeremy Horn was the referee. And they started calling me the Tank Abbott, hook and shoot Tank Abbott, right? And so I'd go every card, right? And if a guy could beat me, they knew it was legit. And then if he didn't beat me, they wouldn't have him back. But they had me on every card. I think I did 11 hook and shoots in a row. And
Was that like every night, back to back, or was it one a month? You know what I'm saying? How often was
no,
them
they would
fights?
have probably 4 shows a year, I guess. Sometimes it would be a tournament, sometimes not. That first one was a tournament. You had to do it in one night. But
These guys nowadays don't know about how, like back then, you
well,
might fight a couple times a night, 3 or 4 fights in one night,
yeah,
the tough man contests and stuff.
yeah. So I came back and I met John Rankin. I don't know if you are familiar with
Yeah.
him. He was a Pride veteran. So we started training at the ISOFAC building there at Fort Campbell. And I was fighting so much. I mean, at a pace y'all would think was suicidal.
Now,
But
was you still in school?
I dropped out of college when I started fighting, right? Because
Okay.
they were giving me money to do this. I was
Right.
fighting in the
Yeah.
bars for free. I
Right.
never did martial arts. Never. We made fun of martial artists.
Okay.
So
Where
you
the
you were truly like the Tank Abbott of the bunch then.
Really, that's what it was. And we thought, now, I know you guys come from a martial arts background. I don't want to ruffle
Yeah.
no feathers, but we thought it was corny for a grown man to dress up in an ancient Oriental costume, stand in front of a mirror, bow when he walked on the mat. It was just that's not the environment I was from,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so it would be like, wow, I never wore a gi. My whole professional career, I never trained at a gi
I
on.
cut the
I was like,
sleeves out of mine.
why would you dress up in a costume to go practice to fight when it's not realistic? The friction's not the same. The
Yeah.
handles aren't the same. It'd be like me dressing up in a pirate costume to go learn how to do a fighting technique. It would be silly.
Yeah.
Right.
So I never did that. And I ended up moving down to Houston, taking it serious. And I was training with Eve Edwards.
Where
He
are we
was,
at fights? How many
Yeah.
numbers? What number are we on now? How many
I've,
fights have
I've
you had?
probably got, I don't know, 30 pro fights.
At
And
that time.
yeah, at that time. And I moved down to Houston, Texas, and I start training with Eve Edwards. He was the uncrowned UFC lightweight champion at the time. If you ever see that turnaround kick to the head that he did on Josh Thompson, they put it on all highlight videos. That was
Uh-huh.
Eve.
I remember that.
Well, and his school was Thug Jitsu, third column. So he was the one that was Thug Jitsu, the modern art of the beatdown. That's Eve Edwards. It's not Johnathan Ivey. I
Okay.
got the tattoo and stuff, but that's the gym I was from.
Okay.
So I moved back in 2005, and I know I was talking nonstop here, but
That's good. That's what we
just
want. Yeah, I
trying to
want
get
you
us
to keep
caught up
going.
to
No,
this
you got.
fight.
Chris, are you okay?
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
at Austin P during these bench press contests, I met a guy at the gym lifting weights. His name was Jules Hewitt. He played on the Austin P football team. He had a roommate at the time, and it's crazy that you mentioned the Merriman earlier
Mike
because I hadn't
Merriman.
heard that name in
I love
15 years
Mike,
either.
dude.
Yeah.
That's my guy.
You mentioned that earlier, and so they were roommates. So we got to be buddies.
Right.
Right. More so, I started out being more so buddies with Jules. I'd go over and we'd play
Jules
Knockout
the
Kings.
ref?
The ref, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my
Yeah.
God, dude had guns.
Right. He
Oh yeah,
did.
he was jacked up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when I moved back from Texas training with Eve, they had a fitness gym in Clarksville, like a little small fitness gym, and neither one of them knew anything about fighting. So they said, Ivy, why don't you start teaching our MMA program here at our little fitness gym? So I started teaching the MMA program there. We called it Team Ivy at the time. And then Gold's Gym in Clarksville had turned into Extreme Fitness. So I was teaching also there. Well, you mentioned Ron Daly. He's moving from, I think he moved from Virginia
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah.
Tennessee.
Yep.
And I guess he was asking around who should be my instructor for MMA. I'm going to open this fight gym. I guess everybody told him me. So he contacts me. So now I'm teaching at Merriman and Jules Gym. I'm teaching at Extreme Fitness, and I'm teaching at SSF I'm the MMA instructor at SSF. I'm teaching the same stuff. They're all three charging different prices, right? But I'm teaching my,
Right.
fighting style that I like. And where does that get us to?
Well, let's rewind. I'd like to check out. So when you first started fighting,
No,
so you basically where did your jujitsu come from? You had I
Yeah,
know
you're
you
the
had
leg
you're like
lock
the leg locks
monster. Like,
monster. You're what? So let's say your first 5 fights. Let's take a. I know that's a long time
yeah,
ago,
yeah. But
but
you,
how play out those fights for me? I mean, how
uh,
did you
they're all on YouTube. It's just me beating the hell out of people that. Uh,
don't know what they're doing?
Back then, I was fighting just Joe Schmo from down the block. I mean, these guys suck.
do you
Yeah,
remember your very first fight?
Yeah, it was against a cop in
And
Evansville,
that was
Indiana
your
cop.
first?
Yeah,
Okay.
at
yeah,
Hook and Shoot.
See,
And
that was back in the VHS days,
you
bro.
mean pro fight or you mean just fight?
Well, I mean, fight, get out there in front of a crowd.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
amateur.
It would have
Yeah,
been that
yeah.
one. Yeah, I
yeah.
never fought amateur. If they were charging money for tickets, I was
You want to
the
fight?
guy in there bleeding deserves it. So I was like, I was never going
Right.
to fight amateur. Uh,
So yeah, it was kind of like the old tough man contest where you had just barroom brawlers get in there and
well, it was guys that would train Brazilian Jiu Jitsu,
yeah,
and 90% of those guys are taking Brazilian Jiu Jitsu because they don't want to get punched in the face. Otherwise, they'd be in a boxing gym.
yeah.
And so, you would just beat those guys up. They would try to do their locks and stuff. You just beat the hell out of them.
Well, I
And
mean,
then
you're
the boxers, you would just take them to the ground and submit them. But back then, it was kind of the athletes weren't coming to MMA back
right,
then. They were
right.
going to football and basketball and all this other stuff. And it was just like corny little. To me, I don't.
No, I know. I was there. I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about. But and then with your body style, with your just body type.
yeah.
If I didn't know you and I seen you in a crowd, you'd be like the last guy I'd want to jujitsu with because not whether I knew you knew anything about it or not, it's just you got a short neck, you got big shoulders, hard, it's gonna be hard to find those triangle, a triangle choke. It's
Hmm.
gonna be really tough just to grab somebody like you on. I'm sure that's kind of what you were running into back then, right?
Uh, yeah.
Anybody that knew anything, I mean, they couldn't really apply it.
No, I just I never got, back then I was not getting. I think out of I don't know how many fights I've got pro fights, but most
Yeah.
people think I've got about 150 pro fights.
Right.
I'll go with that. Uh, I got submitted a couple times there when I very first started, but then I went decade decade plus without ever getting tapped or anything. So
Wow.
my body type helped me a lot with that, and then just yeah, I had a good time. But then the Ron Daly moved here. He was like a business guy.
Yeah.
He wasn't a fighter or anything. So he would just pay me to run the MMA program. And then I ended up leaving Jules and Merriman's gym. And so they changed it. They stopped calling it Team Ivy because I had a fight team. Mike was part of my fight team. So I took him, my fight team, I would have underneath me, and I would main event all these shows in different states. And I would take my guys with me to fight on the undercard. So I took Mike with me up to Indianapolis one time, and
Was Mike fighting?
yeah, he fought went
Oh, shit, I
up there
didn't
and he
know
got
Yeah.
that.
beat. And
Okay.
so I was the champion down in Alabama. So I went down there, and then I had 9 of my guys fight on that card down there, and Mike got a win right there. And I think those are only 2 fights that Merriman ever fought. But all my guys won that night. We went 9-0 that
That's
night.
a good
Oh,
feeling,
it was
man.
so cool.
When
Alabama
you're,
hated us,
yeah,
and
Yeah.
but we were Team Ivy. But
right.
when I ended up leaving Jules
I
and Mike's
remember your
gym,
shirts, John.
oh,
Shut your mouth, save your teeth.
yep,
Yeah.
yep,
Right.
yep.
I
I
wore one
remember
of them
those.
shirts, dude, like for so long, man. And then, you know, fast forward however long I get to fight you, I'm like, I'm fighting a hero of mine. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? That's hard to do, man.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, when you were young? At what age were you in 2005? About where were you when you first started fighting
When I,
pro?
my first pro fight in Evansville was in
Mm,
'98,
Okay, how old were you back then?
23.
23.
Mm-hmm.
So growing up though, n- street fighting, any kind of
A
boxing or
lot of
anything like that?
fighting.
Yeah.
Uh, like once I got to college, there was a lot of fighting. The neighborhood where I'm from, like the tough guys in the neighborhood weren't fist. Nobody was fist fighting like 1950s Mayberry.
Yeah.
All the tough guys where I'm from just had pistols in their front pocket,
Gotcha.
and they did not fear consequences.
Hmm.
And so that was the tough guys to us. Fist fighting. When they told me about it, I was like, "What? It's one on one."
Right.
I was used to fighting 3 or 4 different guys, So it was. I just always looked at it like a sport and just a way to make some cash that was legal.
Right. Hey guys, have you ever said I'm tired of being tired? And did you know that the energy drink market is a $28 billion industry annually? Lack of sleep can significantly impact your mental health, leading to increased irritability, anxiety, and depression. It can also impair your cognitive functions like memory and decision making. This is why I'd like you to meet my friend Jamie, the owner of Paducah Mattress Outlet and a mattress expert for over 20 years. After chatting with Jamie, I was amazed to learn just how much science goes into selecting the perfect mattress. She also explained how outlet stores can offer incredibly low prices and allow their brands to invest in more high quality materials rather than a bunch of flashy advertising. With Jamie's friendly guidance, you'll find the ideal mattress tailored to your needs, all at an unbeatable price. So before you take another sip of that energy drink, go see my friend Jamie. Paducah Mattress Outlet, 1927 Urban Cobb Drive. Tell her Joe sent you. And then go have some sweet dreams.
And but anyway, I ended up leaving Jules and Merriman's, and so we stopped calling it Team Ivy. They started calling it Team Wildside, and so they started doing that. And then I left Ron Daly, SSF, and then he started being the instructor. Maybe.
Yeah, I
Uh,
remember when I remember that time. That's
yep.
kind of where I got caught up with because I remember when you left there. I think Daly had sambo background or
Yes,
something like
yes.
that, some kind of wrestling background. But then Merriman came in pretty quick after you left, didn't he?
Mike always had tough guys, man, plucking them out of the army and stuff over at
Mm,
Clarksville, the army base.
Hmm.
mm,
That Derek Lehman kid, probably one of the toughest dudes next to you I ever fought. You know what I
yeah.
mean? That was on the army base. That was for a title, I think, for you with the
That
XFL.
that name don't ring a bell, but
Derek Lehman,
Yeah.
hmm.
young dude, black stud, in the army. The
Paul.
month he ran from his post to the bar, Froggies on the army base, ran from his post to the bar to fight me, whooped my ass, and then ran back.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? And there was consequences because his whatever sergeant or whatever said, "You ain't fighting in no damn bar. You know, you're government property."
Wow.
And so Lehman, he made him work, right? So Lehman leaves, comes, whoops my ass, runs back, and I guess he got in trouble or whatever, but
Dang.
still Sarge was proud of him, well, he got shipped off a couple of weeks later, didn't he?
didn't he fight for us up in
I think he
yeah.
had like maybe one more fight,
Yeah, because I
and
remember him showing up and we had I don't know if John yeah, I don't think you were ever there. We had a gym here not too far away in Paducah, and it was right next to a bingo hall, and we would pack people in there on Saturday nights. And then he showed up. He had a belt with us, and he shows up and he goes in the bingo hall,
Yeah.
and all these old ladies over there because we took all their parking. They were
they
pissed.
was mad at
Yeah,
us
I
over
don't know.
parking,
Yeah, I don't know. He might have had a worse fight there if he hung
right?
out. Yeah, but so when you left Daly, what happened then?
uh, well, I went to Nashville. I started. I kind of everything sounds. I just kind of outgrew Clarksville,
Hmm.
and Daly never. I don't know. I think he did take some grappling stuff before he moved to Tennessee,
Hmm.
so he knew like a little bit of stuff. And so he started teaching us this, and then I was up in the Nashville area, doing that, and then but I want to say the fight with Danny was 2008,
Sounds
and
about right.
Let's
maybe I
see.
was still at SSF.
No, no, you
I'd
had
already
left.
left it.
Yeah, because I remember when you left, and then I don't remember how I got in contact with you for that fight, but yeah, you were game like right away, and then
Yeah. Well, see, I was always having to go to the West Coast. I
hmm
have to go to California or Hawaii or Arizona.
Hey,
Or
John, nobody wanted to fight you.
yeah,
well, I was always having to go off, and then when y'all uh, somehow I got contacted about 2 hours up the road.
Right.
They
yeah,
wanted, and
That's
I was
close.
always the type I hated traveling for it. Like if I had my choice, I could just go and walk in my backyard, fight somebody to
Right.
pay me, and I can go back in the house and watch TV. So when y'all said that, and then there was a buzz about Danny. Like back at that time in Kentucky, there was a Danny was getting a buzz because it had moved down to Tennessee, and I had heard it.
yeah,
And then, but somebody told me you had connections with him. And I was like, wait a minute, because I was used to having to. I just we felt good about the matchup, but you guys had to feel good about the matchup, otherwise you wouldn't have lined it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, here's the thing about that. Danny.
Shut up, Joe.
Well, no, I mean
Danny, you got to
the
get in the
actually
gym.
the setup, yeah, and even the boxing commissioner, he's like, I don't know if we should have let this one because Danny didn't have near the
Todd Neal
record.
loved me though. I mean,
Yeah,
so did
we had a good
Angela.
relationship with him, but the show with Danny he was the only one that could even there would have
I
been
just
even
sold
a
a lot of
chance.
tickets, John, to be
Yeah,
honest.
he
I
was a
wasn't ever a good fighter,
no,
but I sold a shitload
I
of
disagree
seats,
with him.
you know.
Danny was a natural fighter. Danny was somebody who didn't have to train. He came in, he threw some oddball punches. He'd look away, look down, and throw an overhand. He was catching a lot of dudes and some pretty good guys, pretty decent fighters too. But he wasn't a training type fighter. He just come in and put
Right.
on a big show, and so that's when we brought you in, and I think we were trying to get ready for the fight, and it was some issues getting Danny into the gym, but that it was a big
I was
show.
all about the after party,
I think
really.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's about right.
You
Yeah,
know,
but it was a big show for Danny, and I mean, it gave him something to,
I fought
I
Johnathan
mean,
Ivey. You know,
Well,
it's like your Ken Shamrock fight. I mean, you fought some legends. Well,
uh,
that's what he got to do.
well, it was he was getting a buzz because it had
Yeah,
moved down to me because I had heard before I ever got contacted. I heard about Danny the Hitman Stoner up in Kentucky,
right.
and then see what was so surprising about that. There's a couple things that sticks out to me about that fight. One, y'all had me come out first, right? So I'm in the cage. I don't know if the promotion was doing something or the commission was doing something, or maybe Danny was wrapping his hands. It took 20 minutes for Danny to walk out.
Yeah,
So I lay down in the cage. I'm in the
yeah. I
cage
can
waiting.
remember.
So I'm out there forever. Do you got a copy of that fight? Be honest, Joe.
I don't. I swear I don't. But I know we have it somewhere. Somebody
Please,
does.
Joe.
going
I
through all
was.
my
You
dad's
have to.
stuff, I need to look
You
through
have to
that.
understand. I
But
mean, I know. I think Albert Steinbach's probably got one I could maybe get, but it was a really bad night for me. I mean, you guys were
Yeah.
thinking fight, fight, fight. I'm thinking $10,000
time
loss.
wise,
Yeah,
it was always hurry
yeah,
up, wait in the fight game.
yeah.
I
But
felt like
I think Danny was. I think Danny was maybe milking that timer a little bit, trying to get the
Was it
crowd built up.
strategy?
I
Because
don't remember,
I
John.
laid down in the cage.
Mhm.
And it got to the point where I was getting like upset. I was like, well, so I just laid down and I'm staring up at the ceiling. Well, some Danny fan yells out, Danny's already got him knocked out. Look.
Yeah,
I guarantee that was Chris Yaw.
probably.
Somebody yells that out. So I hear that and I'm thinking, yeah, I'm in enemy territory. The guy's
Yep.
not walking down. He's making me. And I got no choice because I was just wanting to get paid. So,
Honestly, I probably like didn't bring my mouthpiece or my cup.
oh,
You
it
know what I'm
was.
saying?
Probably,
Like that
So you're
was
probably.
saying it
probably the.
wasn't strategy?
Oh, I
Oh,
swear to God, no.
Yeah,
I wasn't smart enough for that,
it
John.
wouldn't be strategy. It
No.
might be building the crowd, getting the
yeah.
crowd
Yeah.
stoked up, but he wasn't nothing. He was trying to psych you out.
So, so getting the thing I remember about the fight that was so, Tap Out Magazine ran an article on me. It was like a 3-page
I read
article.
it. Yeah, yeah.
It was called they called the
Leg
Leg
lock
Lock
monster.
Monster.
Yeah.
Well, after that, the nickname just took off. I never called myself that, and so the nickname just kind of took on a life of its own. So my last 50, 55 fights, maybe pro, no, I didn't have to defend one takedown attempt. Nobody tried to take me down.
Right.
Well, this is, rewind back to our fight. I thought you were going to fight me like everybody else. Keep your distance, try to hit me with big shots, try to catch me with something, and then go from there. As soon as the fight starts, Danny, I don't know if you remember it. I have never watched this on tape, but I
I
remembered
remember
it.
the fight. I remember the lock.
He threw something and immediately closed the distance, and
And
I'm thinking,
This idiot jumped right in my
I'm like,
arms.
he's right, he's right here on me. What? And so I was thinking that I was going to have to chase him the whole fight.
yeah,
And he just comes to me, and it shocked. I was like,
it
does he
shocked
know?
me too.
Does he know something I don't know? What's But then, yeah, the
I
fight played out.
remember you whispering in my ear, Stoner, you can tap.
Yeah,
And I go,
Yeah,
yeah, man,
and he tweaked
yeah,
it a little more.
I'm still fighting my hero. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Even on my back with the key locked in.
yeah,
And then
Americana.
I heard a loud pop, pop, pop. Bro, my arm turned as black as this desk for 8 weeks.
mhm,
Yeah,
I'm trying to work, and this arm is solid black, like the tattoo,
yeah.
right?
yeah.
And won't move. Like you,
That
man,
was
you were
one of my
strong.
few upper body submissions.
Yeah.
How many fights did you end up doing?
What,
Mm,
26? I think my
You
yeah,
record's
did
20,
26
20 and
fights.
6.
he was
Man, I was
fighting
fighting
every
every
time.
weekend, John. Like I
He was
thought
fighting,
that's
and I
what
wouldn't
you
even know he
did.
was fighting. When
He's
they'd
telling
go
me to
out somewhere and
stop. I
yeah,
mean, I fought with like staples in my head. I fought
Yeah.
with a broken eye socket.
We're
One time in Murray, I had 2 broke hands,
yeah,
and he's going, I'm going to quit if you don't stop. Like you got, but I just didn't want to back down.
Well,
You
how many
know,
shows did you end up having? Was he just fighting on all yours?
No, I only had like my shows. I think. Well, if you count Harold, I think I had like 7, something like that. So,
7
and
of
he
them?
didn't fight on all those. No, he didn't
I
fight.
don't think
Yeah, we fought up in the Hive a lot. We fought a lot of dailies
Tim
people.
Fickus was the man up there.
Yeah,
Tim Fickus walked in the locker room and said, "Hitman, I hear you'll fight anybody." I was like, "Yeah, for enough money, I'll fight the Incredible Hulk."
Yeah.
And he says, "I got a guy that nobody will fight, Natu Vincenz. Great big old Samoan guy, played SIU football,
Mm.
and damn, he was stout,
yeah.
but nobody would fight him, and so I
Yeah.
did. That was a loss,
So
but
you didn't get to really see the Danny that was where all the hype was. Danny,
I
because
quit training him.
we closed the gap on you. So Danny worked better from the outside. He had weird, awkward, like punt, like an overhand that you couldn't see coming, and he was pretty flexible to throw a head kick,
Right.
and
It
catch
was
people
just
off
dumb
guard.
stuff,
It
John,
was
from
just
having two older
it was just
brothers.
stuff you weren't
Yeah.
used to. People weren't used to fighting like that.
I would try Drunken Monkey or,
Yeah,
I mean, some of the shit I
and
seen you do.
he'd
I
be
seen you
trying
do
some
that
stuff
Drunken
from
Monkey.
the WWF and stuff.
What was your game plan? Did y'all work on anything?
No, I
I
didn't
think the
come
main
to,
I was completely shocked that he closed the distance so fast.
Yeah.
I
Just
It was
wanted the head
immediate.
kick. I thought I could head kick
and
you and knock you out. So it was my,
honestly, I couldn't get him in the gym enough to get a really
Uh,
good plan
I mean,
going.
yeah, it was, maybe I'll knock him out.
Yeah,
But if not, I fought Jonathan Ivey.
I think
hmm.
that's
You
really
know,
what it was. Was it wasn't
my
we're
last
going to
probably
go in
five
and knock
fights,
this dude out.
John.
We're going to win. Absolute. We're going to take him out. No, it's like, okay, we're going to go in and do our best and maybe we get lucky. I mean,
Right.
because we knew who you were and what you've done and you know, Danny had some fights under him, but he still
Right.
had a lot
More
to
than
draw to
anything,
learn.
though, I just want to get it over with. Let's jump on him, get it done. I got a keg and a group of people ready to
Yeah.
go,
Yeah.
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 And
Yeah.
it was stupid, though. I felt like everybody seen the Mighty Mouse move, right? He throws old boy up in the air,
Yeah.
comes down with the arm bar,
Yeah.
right? I felt like that was me and you. Like as soon as you grab me, we go to the ground, you already had it locked in. And I'm like,
Yeah.
God, he's so good. How did he land that before we even hit the ground? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I was fanboying bad,
Well,
you
when you
know.
close the distance, and I remember real. I mean, we both had an over under, I believe, and it was as soon as they rung the bell,
Yeah, I was
it was just like it was like a gift, and I'm thinking that this is totally the opposite of what I thought he was going to do. So then I started second guessing myself, and I was just like, screw it, because at the end of the day, you go back to what you're comfortable with.
right.
And once we were on the ground, I felt pretty confident. But yeah, man, that was
It was
that's
'08,
crazy. The memories that just like a Rolodex in my head keep rolling back. But Josh Shockman was there, UFC vet.
right?
Hamill was there, UFC vet. Yeah, that was I remember that, man.
It
It's
was a
just
great show. It really was. Every fight we had on the card was good.
Yeah,
Had some really good knockouts and
it was.
we had a good crowd. It was just a bad night for me all the way around,
yeah.
thinking back on it. Just as far as
Was it what you had to do with Harris to get in the
yeah.
venue?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that was my biggest mistake. And I had a partner and he had just gotten colon cancer
Mm.
again. So, we were dealing with that. We were dealing with loss of money and it was a rough night, but and then everybody it's weird. That's a surreal feeling when you're walking through a crowd and everybody's like stoked and like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And you're like, oh man, this is it's like one of your worst nights.
You
And
were trying to put on a fake smile
yeah, it
that
was a
night.
tough
You know
night.
what I mean? But I
Yeah.
just remember how much you were sweating.
Yeah,
Like
it
that,
was so hard, dude.
it
Did you
sucks.
work Danny's corner or was you like doing promoter
Yeah,
stuff?
I don't think I was in your corner. I think Michael and I can't remember who else was. Yeah, because I was too
Probably
busy.
Chico or
Yeah,
Jeremiah or something
yeah,
like that.
Mm.
yeah. But so after that fight, where'd you end up?
Well, I was in the gym for that one because I was telling Danny outside, Rico Rodriguez, he beat Randy Couture for the UFC heavyweight title, and then he had lost it to Tim Sylvia, and he was trying to get back in the UFC. So they were contacting me about, okay, we're going to fly you down to Houston to fight Rico. He's trying to get another name on his record so he can get back. Well, this was y'all contacted me right in the build up for that. So I was in the gym every day.
Oh yeah,
And so y'all caught me at the worst time,
you're right.
and because a lot of times I wasn't in the gym, you might have hit me with that overhand right, but uh, that and then that fight shortly after that, a promoter a gym owner in Marion, Kentucky, paid me to come do a leg lock seminar in Marion, and he
Is
had a.
who was it?
Tommy, sure.
Oh, Tom. Yeah,
I remember he had a pretty blonde-headed girl that was pretty good.
yeah.
Uh,
She started
Scotty.
training with me,
oh,
Scotty.
did she?
Yeah,
Okay. And then he had a couple of other guys, but so uh, I went through a period there where after I fought Shamrock, I was kind of depressed,
yeah,
and so I was just going there, and Tommy would introduce me to people, and they were very friendly towards me, and he got me on the drinking the hooch stuff he would make and all that, and so I wasn't in the gym, and then he had me fight the big uh,
Cozart.
Ozar,
Cozart,
Josh.
and
Yeah,
I didn't go to the gym one time for that fight,
yeah.
and then I ended up getting I didn't know Danny refed it until he just told me, but I ended up leg locking him, but the guy I was telling Danny outside, the Johnathan that fought Danny and the Johnathan that fought Marion, two different Jonathans. One was in the gym every day, one was drinking, every day.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's how that played out. I don't know what time frame that was, but it was all around that 2008 area, I think.
Yeah. 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 Things changed a lot for me then too.
Well, everybody asks like, how long did you fight? In my head, it just lasted a couple years, right? I
You,
thought
yeah,
2 or 3 years,
me
but
too.
I was fighting every weekend. I would go wherever the fights were. I wanted to go and be on the card, and so I fought a whole bunch real fast. I feel like,
Yeah.
and then probably my last 5 fights was stretched out over maybe 5 years or something.
Yeah.
But I didn't train none of them. You know what I'm saying? I'm working, raising a family, and
Danny just had a huge following. I mean, everybody
yeah.
loved him. He's got the
Yeah.
personality. And
I just wanted to fight first so that I could drink with my people.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
nobody never would let me. They're like,
yeah,
man, as soon as you leave, everybody's leaving with you. So you got to be last.
yeah.
But that little bit I was going to that Marion, Kentucky, which is a small community. You're
No, I
familiar
know.
with it.
Yeah,
And
Now, that's where I
Danny
still
showed up.
live.
I seen Danny out there, the big ball headed guy, and Danny showed up, and we were friendly towards each other and everything. So it was yeah, that was a wild time, man. I was making a lot of bad decisions during that
yeah,
time period.
yeah.
I
Bad
think we
things
all
happen.
were
Yeah,
back
yeah.
Yeah.
then. But it
So
was fun, wasn't
It was fun thinking
it?
back on it. It was a pretty good time. But if I could change some things I did back then, I think I would have.
So what
yeah,
happened with Rico? I'm sorry,
yeah.
Joe.
Go ahead.
Rico
Rico won a
Rodriguez.
judge's decision.
Okay.
Um,
In Houston.
in Houston, Texas, he beat me by judge's decision, and Ken Shamrock beat me by judge's decision. That's what I was telling Joe when he contacted me about coming on here. I was talking about some of them. I fought a ton of UFC guys, and I never fought in the UFC.
That's what
But
I want to talk about.
as soon as somebody beat me, their next fight, and this happened over and over and over again, their next fight would be in the UFC.
Yeah, you were
Yeah,
the
Right.
stepping stone. You
Right.
was
So
the gatekeeper.
Sean McCorkle said UFC wouldn't let him in, and then he said they brought me up to fight him in Indianapolis. He beat me. His next fight was in the UFC. He breaks Mark Hunt's arm, and it was just that happened over and over again. And I was close a bunch, but I
Did you ever
was
talk to Dana
well. I
personally?
met Dana, but we never talked about me fighting in the UFC. I met him up in Boston, Massachusetts. I fought Ben Rothwell. I don't know if
Remember
y'all
Big
heard that
Ben?
name.
Yep, yep.
And I cut myself on his knee sleeve on that one, but uh Joe Silva was the matchmaker back in that time
Uh-huh.
frame. But Jeff Osborne was the guy that owned Hook and Shoot, and then he became the commentator for UFC, right?
Okay.
And so Tank Abbott left UFC and went to WCW. Well, he's coming
Okay.
back to the UFC. Well, Jeff's pushing hard. Ivy's going to be Tank's return fight in UFC.
Oh,
Well,
that'd be awesome.
they ended up giving it to a guy
that would
named
be
Frank Mir, and
yeah,
Frank Mir leg locked Tank.
Right.
And so, but I was close that time, and then one other time they said I was on the short list. But guys, I never had a manager,
that's
and
what I was going to
so
say. Did you have who was managing
I
at the time?
never had a manager, and I was from a community where we don't trust checks. So for the
Yeah.
first 100 fights of my career, I never took a check. I
Yeah,
didn't take a check, so I started going down to Roy Jones Jr. Showdown in Pensacola, and they would. I let them give me a check because I thought I could trust
Right.
it. Right?
I don't know that I ever got a check, did I? Do you remember?
I can't remember. Things were so crazy back then. It was just a different.
It was a
It,
wild, wild mess,
it
man, back
was.
then.
It was right after when I first started. I started kickboxing, and I was 20 something years. No, I don't know. I was younger than that, and I'd have to travel, all the way to the East Coast, out to Virginia Beach to fight, and then show up, and the dude be 30 pounds over what we agreed to, or something crazy like that. It's just,
Yeah.
it was a different time. And then right after that's kind of when you guys started coming in. And you're right. It was like I think somebody at that time goes, you know what, this could be big.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody's like, you know what, this might be, and then that's when people start organizing it better and starting bringing it, making something out of it. But yeah, that not having a manager, you think that's really could have hurt you?
Well, he wouldn't have let me. A good manager wouldn't have let me do the things I was doing.
Yeah,
You know, and there was one 12-month period where I fought 26 professional fights,
yeah,
right? And so your body, you know, I would go into fights not being able to throw a punch because my hand was broken or
Right.
my shins were so banged up from people checking my kicks the weekend before. I couldn't hardly put weight on my legs. It was just a good manager wouldn't let you do that.
right.
And real quick, I want to rewind because y'all
Yeah,
brought up
sure.
those names I hadn't heard of in over a decade.
That's why this is so fun,
Well,
man, ain't it?
with Jules Hewitt and Mike Merriman, and you brought up Ron Daly. Like, I don't want to dismiss those names. Like, that was a very important part of my life, and they were good to me.
Yeah.
You know, for a period of time. You know, and then you know, life gets in the way sometimes, and people separate.
Right,
But
right.
I'm very appreciative to what the time that I spent with both of those different gyms and being their instructors and all that. But you know, I don't want to just dismiss it like, oh, I outgrew Clarksville. That's not the
No,
message I want to get
I don't
across.
think anybody would think that.
Yeah.
So real quick though, before we get, so when you were training in Clarksville and you were teaching classes, what were you showing people? Were you just giving them?
That's what I'm saying. Like, how was he so
Yeah.
damn good if he never was trained in anything?
Well, and
Well,
then where did the leg locks come from? I mean, where did you
well,
pick?
John Rankin gave me a bunch of those leg locks, and he was the one that because I didn't have I'm from Texas. We didn't have wrestling in high school, so I was
Right.
finding myself on bottom in these fights, right? And so I had to find ways to transition to things. And people are athletic with their arms. They're used to opening doors, drinking. They're used to being athletic with their arms. A majority of people are not athletic with their legs.
Yeah.
They're like a fish out of water. I mean,
You're right.
so I would attack legs, and it just became easy for me. And then when I got to Eve Edwards down in Texas, everybody thinks he's a Muay Thai guy. He's an encyclopedia of grappling.
Yeah.
And so he helped me a lot also with that. And then when I got back up here, the and this, don't take this the wrong way, but the level of knowledge was completely down, right? And so I could teach these guys the legs that I had, and I was like doing it under fire. Like, I wasn't learning something off of a YouTube video. I was learning this and then immediately having to apply it the next weekend to get $750 or whatever it was I was fighting for at the time.
Right.
And then oh, thankfully the checks went up, but
So
yeah, it was
what
just I was just learning as I went and learning things from here and there and man, we had some good guys on that team Ivy back then. That's why I'm appreciative of that time period.
Right.
what were you doing other than that? Did you have anything else? Was that your main income? Just fights?
Well, so
You can talk freely, John.
yeah. So
Anything that you say can stay
so
right here.
the people, you know, the people that I looked up to were drug dealers.
Right.
So you would have to. What would you do? You would buy cheap, and you would piece it out, and you would make a profit.
Right.
So this MMA was my drug, right?
Right.
And so I would do fighting. I would teach seminars. I would sell. I probably sold 15,000 over my career. Shut your mouth, save your T-shirts. Probably 2 or 3 thousand hoodies. Um, I would referee. I was refereeing a
Right.
lot back then. So I was piecing out this sport of MMA, and to make a profit. And that's all I was doing. Like most people, and that's why they have the ability to say no to fights because they're a welder during the week, or you know they're I wasn't doing any of that. I couldn't unless they was just a disrespectful offer, I took it,
Right.
right?
Right.
And I put myself behind the 8 ball because a lot of times, we'll fly you to Honolulu, Ivy, but you can't bring nobody. So I would get to
Oh.
Honolulu and have to ask some guy I'd never seen before, would you hold my water and walk out with me, buddy? I
Yeah.
got to fight this UFC vet that's got Matt Hughes and Jens Paul in his
Right.
corner.
Yeah.
It was
Right.
Andre the Chief Roberts. I don't know if you remember him, a big Mohawk guy,
Uh-huh.
but
Did you win or how'd that fight
He
go?
he beat me, and that was the most embarrassing fight of my career. That's the night I said
He
I'll.
was huge.
Yeah, he was about 380, but that was the night I said I'll never tap again.
Yeah.
Right, and the rest of my career, I tapped 2 times, and there was probably 70 fights after that. I tapped because
70
the
fights.
Alaskan Assassin, Sam Hogar from The Ultimate Fighter, he got
Uh-huh.
me in a Kimura.
Okay.
And then fighting Travis Fulton, I tapped because I didn't want to punch him in the head anymore.
Hey,
That
let's
was
Yeah.
the
talk
only 2
about
times
that.
I tapped after that Honolulu
Well,
fight.
that one don't count to me, Ivy.
No, it
I'm a
doesn't.
fan of both of y'all, and I understand. I mean, you got the dude tattooed on your leg,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
right.
So you asked that ref, all right? You rocked him. Anybody that knows anything about fighting knows you hit him, you rocked him. When he was down, you kept asking the ref. I mean, what was you saying to him? Like, I don't want to hit my
Yeah.
hero,
Well,
right? Or what was you saying?
well, when I hit Travis and he went down against the cage, right? He collapsed. And I hit him 3 or 4. Immediately followed him down and hit him 2 or 3 more times.
Right,
His eyes rolled back in his head,
right,
right?
Right.
And so I tell the ref, I said, "Ref, he's done." And now this was Travis wasn't supposed to be my opponent. I was the heavyweight champion up there, and it was supposed to be Wes Sims, and then he had to back out, and then it was going to be Shoney Carter, he had to back out, and then the guy that Rashad Evans fought in the UFC, Sean Selman, Rashad kicked him in the head and stoned
yeah,
him.
yeah.
He was supposed to do it. He backed
Salmon
out.
was
So
that?
then we're like, who? I mean, so it ended up being Travis.
Yeah.
Because I told them the only stipulation to me being your champion and coming to defend it is that it had to be against a UFC veteran. I didn't want to fight guys I had
Joe
never heard
Schwartz.
of anymore.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And so they
You
got
had earned
Travis to
that.
come do it. And his eyes rolled back. And now I did other videos talking about this, and my cornerman said I hit him 40 unanswered times, right? And afterwards, Travis, accepts the title because, of course, they took the title and gave it to Travis because he won. But Travis sent me an email. This is what was so cool because the way I looked at Travis and his personal life since then, I don't know anything about that and how that played out after our fight. And evidently he had some things going on I wasn't aware of. But he sent me about a week later. He sent me an email saying, "Look, I don't remember receiving the title, talking on the microphone. I don't remember how I got to the dressing room. I appreciate you did what you did, right?" I still kept that email, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
And so that's my heavyweight championship
there you
because
go.
Travis, I don't know who y'all looked up to in y'all's fighting careers, but Travis was the guy
Yeah.
because he would fight in Brazil, then he would
Yeah,
fly home, go to Iowa, fight this guy, then he'd fly to Hawaii, then he'd fly to England. Like this guy was the Iron Man, right?
right,
And so I just looked at him differently because a lot of people talk about I'll fight anybody, anytime, any place. Very few people really do that,
right.
right?
Exactly.
And so he did it, and he sent me that, and then I had a falling out with that commission up there because I'm hard to deal with, and they got on to me because the referee said, "Keep fighting. You've got to keep fighting."
Right.
And I just, you can keep the title then.
Anybody that knows anything about Fight John, I swear on everything, dude, knows. Like, it pisses me off how the internet spun it, though. They're saying leg lock monster fakes heart attack, and
Yeah,
what?
Yeah.
Like, what? Well, I don't even know where that came from. Like, at one
Well,
point you did something like this, but like
it,
you felt sorry for it. You knew the guy was
well, it's
rocked, and
mercy.
you didn't want. It was
Yeah.
mercy.
well,
And when you step back and tap, I gained more respect for you, John
Absolutely.
Ivy. I
Yeah.
so
mean, because most men wouldn't want that loss. You know what I'm
right.
saying? And you knew the consequences when you tapped on the mat. But hats off, bro.
I don't
I
know
think
that I've
more of
seen
you.
that.
It's worth
I
watching.
don't know that I've no, I've seen the fight, definitely.
Oh,
I don't know. I'm saying I don't know if I've seen that much in
I've
any
never
other
seen somebody else
show.
do that.
I mean, you see it on like gyms and stuff like that, but a big show, I don't know. I
That's
mean,
what I'm
that killer
saying.
instinct is something that
Yep.
it's something that got a bad taste in my mouth. For a while, it was just like these guys were just trying to murder each other,
Hmm.
and there was, I mean, obviously you can see a dude is down
Yeah.
and you taking that, telling the ref, and I've done that before myself, and point out that hey, I
Yeah.
can't keep hammering this guy here. Let's do something. Yeah.
Well, if you go back and rewatch that fight sometime, it's on YouTube.
Mhm.
Right before I grab myself, right, he kicks me and it makes a loud smack,
Uh
and
huh.
the crowd goes, "Ooh."
Yeah, yeah.
So
And
I
you're like,
grabbed it like
yeah,
I
awesome.
I grabbed my side like, "Oh gosh, my ribs."
Uh huh.
Yeah.
To mess with the crowd,
Yeah, yeah.
Travis knew he didn't think I was faking a heart attack, but they want you to click on their website,
Yep.
Absolutely.
so they have to make a title that
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Controversial things are
All right.
much
What
more.
about the people's elbow? Where in the hell did that
Well,
come from?
I was with Eve Edwards at the time, right? And
Love
so
Eve Edwards.
we were training, and I got contacted to do a fight in New Orleans. And so we're driving to New Orleans because we were in Houston. So we're going to save money because
Who's driving? Who's we?
can't remember if Eve was driving or it might have been Chase was the Muay Thai guy.
Okay.
But we have to pull over to get gas. Well, I've never watched wrestling since I was a kid. You know, the Fabulous Ones. I remember when I was a kid, I liked the Fabulous Ones. But somebody said, man, they showed me the Hulk Hogan leg drop,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they showed me the Rock's People's
People's
Elbow.
elbow.
This was the night where I'm fixing to be fighting this night. And I said, man, that is dope. If I get a chance tonight, I'm gonna do that. And I don't know if you're familiar with Melvin Gilliard. He fought in the
Yep,
UFC a
yep.
bunch. Well, he
Crazy.
was there. He was in my corner, and I was fighting a guy I had already knocked out in 8 seconds. I was rematching him,
Okay.
and he was just staying stationary on the ground. And I looked, and we were in a ring, and I looked, the ropes were behind me. I was like, man, I'm going to do that stuff we just did at the gas station. So I
Yeah.
did it. The promoter gets upset. He thinks it's a fixed fight. He's
Oh,
like,
really?
Oh,
nobody does that crazy shit. That was a fixed fight. I'm not paying you. So we had to get everything squared away. We're like, everybody came together and said, look, that it was not fixed. I was just a crazy some bitch.
Yeah.
And he ended up paying me. And the people's elbow happened in the MMA fight, man.
Yeah, that's cool.
there are so many things, bro, that you've done that nobody else has ever done. You know what I'm saying, in the fight game. And
Yeah.
I mean, even just the fact of bouncing off the ropes like a WWE wrestler, bro. I've never seen anybody else do that. Have
No.
you? And
No.
then the people's elbow, the monkey flip on Shamrock. I mean, you've
Well,
done so
the
much.
Shamrock fight, that one, you were shooting for a leg, weren't you? Were you trying
Well,
to? Because it looked like you made a turn and we were going for the leg, and then this is just my take. Looked like you shot for the leg, and then you realized I didn't get a leg, and you did the next one to get away to move to get
right.
the distance. I don't know.
Great
Well,
distance.
what fighting Shamrock? What it was under? Listen, when I didn't know anything about MMA until I met that guy at that bench press contest, then started fighting 2 days
Yeah.
later. I immediately went to Hollywood Video and Blockbuster and rent every VHS tape they
See, that's
had.
what we did.
Yeah.
So, and the one Shamrock was on these,
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
You're looking at the
and
Lion's Den,
The
and now
world's
you're in
most
he
the
was this
dangerous
cage.
man.
he was the world's most dangerous man, a
Yeah,
grappler,
yeah.
and I'm thinking he's going to try to take me down. Well, this leg lock monster thing had just spread. People were listen, guys. They were acting like I was Hickson Gracie,
Right.
right? There would be fights where nobody would try to take me to the ground. I would lay down and ask some, wave them down to come take top position. The corners would say, "Get away from him! Get the
Yeah.
hell away!" They would, and so I would turn so they could have top north south in an
I've
MMA
seen that.
fight.
I've seen
Right.
that. Yep, yep.
Like
You're laying there with your hands
guys,
like this. Hey, come on, get on me.
I might as well started speaking with a Brazilian
I think
accent
it
and
looks
Right.
like
wearing a
you
Yeah.
had crossed
like
your
people.
legs.
This leg lock monster took on a life of its own, guys. And so, but Ken getting back, he never tried to take me down.
Yeah. That's
And
what
so
was
we
odd.
fight the whole first round, and it's just him doing more punching, me doing more kicking. But he probably outpointed me. The second round, um, we're still doing that. He never tries to take me down. I knock him down with a left hook in the second round, and he gets back to his feet, and the round ends. I'm assuming this thing is razor thin or it's close. Well, the third round happens. We get all the way. You know, at the end of the 10 seconds of each round, they do the clapper.
Clacker.
Well,
Uh-huh.
they hit the clapper. There's 10 seconds left in this fight. It was a 3 round fight in the main event. 10 seconds left in the fight. I'm thinking, here's a Hail Mary.
Right.
If I miss a kick and Shamrock's going to try to close in the last 10 seconds, well, I act like I was throwing a kick, never tried to land the kick. I did it before. I miss on purpose. When I turn my back, they rush.
Yeah.
I was just like, it's the last 10 seconds. It's a Hail Mary. People, when they talk about, look, that's funny. This guy doesn't know how to fight. I just fought Shamrock for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I was just trying to do something the last 10 seconds to have a good time. And maybe
Yeah.
he walks into something. But, people never say you fought him for 15 minutes. They act like that happened in the first 10 seconds of the fight.
How many times have you
I don't.
landed that exact move, you think?
Well, I hit it against
Rothwell, Big Ben.
Ben Rothwell.
Now he's bare knuckle now.
I heard he's doing bare knuckle
Knocking
now.
heads off.
No.
Jorge Masvidal brought me down, and my last fight was bare knuckle, and that's a different type. I've got so much scar tissue on my eyes
Right?
that bare knuckle, but I was a bloody mess at the end of that. My scar tissue, you can just flick it and it opens up.
Who was that? I don't think I've seen that fight.
Jorge Masvidal, have you ever heard of him?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's got his own bare knuckle
Yep,
promotion.
yep, yep.
So he brought me down to
Florida.
Biloxi,
Alexi, okay.
and they're a UFC veteran. That's all I get messed up with. was named Alex Nicholson, and I would say pull that up on YouTube and watch it sometime, but don't, because it was you'll be disappointed in your boy.
Bloody
Yeah.
mess.
Yeah, it was blood everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
How did it end?
I never went down. But finally, the referee stepped in, and Nicholson had knocked everybody out, and he's like, "Man, you just would not go down." I was just eating it, but usually I would argue with the ref for stopping it. I
You
didn't
know,
argue. I,
yeah,
did, I didn't
it's
argue.
like,
I,
yeah, it's all
Yeah,
right.
I,
yeah,
Like, all right. Yeah.
yeah, I know
I've
that
been
feeling.
there.
We just heard that, whatever Ivy come walking out with, body part wise,
That's what he's
he
going
hit
for.
them bodies like Halloween time. You put the under the lawnmower. It looks like somebody cut the. Well, John Ivy would carry that shit out with him, and if he's carrying an arm out to the cage, he's gonna rip your arm off, which he did mine. It was an honor. But sometimes if he carried a leg out, he probably gonna do the leg lock.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was, dude, there was so much buzz around your name. Like you were
uh,
way up here. Everybody else was down here. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I think it was just the show that you put on. You brought a show.
Right. Even your entrance was
Yeah.
wrestling.
Let's take
I
a look at some
thought
of that, Tristan. Let's pull up that second one there with the three together.
John Ivy's best fight
Yeah.
entrances in MMA.
Yeah, right there.
Joe, have you ever watched his football highlights?
Mm-mm.
Shit, that's worth watching, dude.
Yeah.
Dude was a tank on the field.
So yeah,
uh,
I can remember you coming out, walking out with the Hannibal Lecter like mask on. Didn't you do that
They
once?
put
yeah,
him on a
yeah.
dolly and rode him out.
Yeah.
Was that in Evansville?
No, that was in
You
There it is, right there.
Kokomo.
It was
Yeah,
just there.
you
Yeah.
I
wore a
won.
prisoner's outfit or
I won the
something.
title that night
Yeah. You
up
had
there.
Jason, and then you.
That right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where'd all
I
this
don't
come
know.
from?
This is off of
Well,
Rocky.
That was a good one.
It's Texas
that
Chainsaw Massacre.
that
Yeah.
was in
There he is.
That was in Tokyo.
So when you did this, was this something somebody was trying to get you to do, or just all you? You just wanted to do it. You just want to be cool,
You talking
different.
about the
The
first time I
walkouts.
wore costume?
Yeah.
Well, the first time I was just being petty. The guy I was fighting was a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy, and
Do you
he would
remember his name?
Don Richards,
Okay.
and he always walked out in a gi.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a costume, right?
Right.
So I told the guys, I said, man, he's going to walk out in this little 17th century Japanese civilian costume that they used
Right.
to wear. Let's walk out. So we walked out as a clown, and because it was a clown to us to train in that stuff.
Right.
You wouldn't dress up like an astronaut and go practice arm bars.
Right. Right.
You know, I wouldn't dress up like an airline stewardess.
Yeah.
So that somebody's gonna go bow and dress up like a Tokyo. I mean, anyway,
Yeah.
I don't. But anyway, it just didn't make sense because
You are a no gi guy.
we don't fight that guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all seen the.
Yeah. I've seen it.
Back on the. Anyway, I take offense to it. Anyway, I probably just think a little bit too much about it, but it just didn't. There was the only reason I fought was to make money, and they stopped letting you wear gis in the
Right.
ring, right? And so
Well, we had a guy ask if he could wear a shirt. Remember that? Well,
Mhm.
you weren't there, but Michael was in my corner.
Okay.
And the guy asked, he thought he was Triple H, Ivy. I mean, for real. Dude
Mhm.
come out wearing a Triple H tank top, dressed like Triple H, had his music, had his hair, did the water bottle spit up in the air before, everything. He really felt he was Triple H. You got the fighters meeting.
Yeah.
He says, "Can I wear my Triple H tank top?"
Mm.
And he goes, "Well, who's your opponent?" I raised my hand. He's like, "You care if he wears it?" And I said, "You care if I choke him the fuck out with it?" And he goes, "Have your way." I go, "Hell yeah, wear it." And
Yeah.
that's the way it
Right.
went.
So those were
Yeah.
the type guys you were fighting, baby.
But I
Well,
liked you because of how entertaining it
yeah.
was, man. I mean, I knew you were special.
When I started fighting that weekend, I told y'all about the guy I fought who came out in a Bruce Lee T-shirt, and he fought in a Bruce Lee T-shirt, guys. Now,
Yeah. We'll
eh,
go back to like UFC 1 and 2, 3. You remember how they
You
would
wore one boxing glove at one guy, right?
well,
Art Jimson wore one, yeah.
One.
yeah,
Why would you?
and they would do the whole entrance, and they'd say what
Yeah,
style,
yeah, yep.
they made it very mystical, like,
Uh-huh.
some kind
Right.
of ancient
Parts
fight.
unknown.
Yeah, ninjutsu guy come
Yeah.
out there, and then when they got to it, everybody just swinging
Right.
wildly,
Yes.
until Hoist and them come in and started, actually applying some different technique.
Who's
But
your all-time favorite MMA fighter, Joe?
mm, man, you know what?
You can't say me.
I can. Well, then let me think again.
It's got to be a UFC guy people would know. Who's your
Mm,
favorite?
Matt Hughes, I
Matt
liked a
Hughes is your
lot.
favorite. Came out to a country boy can't
Yeah.
survive every time.
Well, the reason I liked him was here's the thing about what my take on MMA. Up till because I'll come back from like I was, you know, you talk about the
About
Bruce
it.
Lee. Yeah, I mean, I was when I was a kid, it was Chuck Norris and Superfoot Bill Wallace and all
But
those
you read the
guys.
magazines. You was getting books and stuff that nobody else in Livingston County
Yeah,
even knew about, and
right.
you
No,
was
I
doing
was
the
yeah.
studying and then teaching us about it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But back then it was all about that kind of technique thing. And then the UFC coming in, Hoist Gracie came in and it changed everything. So you had all these stand-up fighters like Bob Wall and all these guys, karate guys, and then they got taken down. And next thing you know, Hoist is locking people out, choking people out. So then everybody's like, hell, I need to learn jujitsu. So
Yep.
everything changed. It like morphed. Everybody just went that direction. And then, fast forward a few years, Tito and Liddell and all those guys, they were defending the takedown, sprawl and
Sprawling.
brawl,
Yep. Yep.
but then the jujitsu guys didn't learn from their own lesson. It's like, okay,
Right.
we got to change and adapt. And then when Hoist was it Hughes and the Hoist didn't what
Mm-hmm.
that shit
Matt
that
Hughes fought
Yeah.
Royce
yeah,
Gracie.
that's when I really gained a lot of respect for Hughes there.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
But I could
So
go back and say Randy Couture. I mean, that's an
You liked
easy
Randy a lot?
yeah, I liked
loved him,
Randy.
man.
We went Danny and
Michael.
Michael, they treated me to a show. We all went up there for ran when
Columbus,
Randy.
Ohio, UFC 100.
Yeah.
Matt Hughes.
And
Did he fight?
can't
Matt Hughes.
remember.
I think Matt Hughes had lost his belt, come back and fought that night.
Yeah.
Rich Franklin had lost his belt, come back and fought that night. Randy Couture come out of retirement to spank Tim Sylvia's behind.
Hmm.
I got pictures of it on my Minolta camera.
Yeah.
And we thought, John, for $200, we're gonna take our sensei, our trainer,
Yeah.
200 bucks.
Yeah.
We're gonna sit front row, bro.
Yeah.
We're gonna be able to touch him. I'm gonna hand Randy Couture one of my DVDs.
200 was probably nosebleed.
I'll be in
Yeah,
the
it was.
UFC by Monday.
Hey, it
Okay,
was still though. It was
dude,
still
John,
awesome.
if I would have thrown my CD like a frisbee, it
You wouldn't
wouldn't have
have
hit
made
the
it.
ring, right? We were
But
so high up.
it was still amazing
They
to be
moved us
there for
up
that.
some seats.
That fight was a pretty. That was a great
I'll
fight.
never forget it as long as
I
I
mean,
live.
Randy, I guess what 3 different divisions
Yeah,
champion.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive
So
to
who is
me.
your favorite all-time UFC?
Uh, Without, there's no question, it's Tank Abbott, right?
Yeah.
There will never be anybody. And I'm an encyclopedia of Tank Abbott, useless
Okay.
knowledge.
Hmm.
Ask me anything, I can
Where
make
is
it.
he right now?
Well,
Well,
he was just on Joe Rogan.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I don't know
Haven't
what
seen
yeah,
that.
episode it was.
yeah. Tank don't look like Tank anymore,
No, he
but
doesn't.
you know,
He had some hella stories, man. Yeah, it was
yeah,
just back in the day, and what you're saying, I know why. I mean, I know why you like him because I mean, I listening to Tank and listening to Ivy is like almost like a recording of each other because Tank would be like, "Yeah, we'd be over drinking and brawl in the
Right.
bars and go in, and
Right.
yeah." But he's another one of those guys that changed everything. Everybody was
right,
falling in suit with the jujitsu guys, and then Tank would just get out here and just
Rock
swing for
people,
the
man.
fences,
and
man.
and and, and like just Tank doesn't get the respect, but guys, can y'all think of a Tank Abbott loss that just is on the top of your head? Can y'all
Mm.
call it out?
Did
Didn't
Kimbo
I remember when
did
Mir
Kimbo
Mir
hold him down
Well,
and
Tank was
no
75 by the time that fight happened,
right.
but Maurice Smith beat him when Maurice
didn't
Smith was the UFC heavyweight
Maurice was a
champion.
bad dude.
Yep.
He was
Well,
on
M-
guess
UFC
what?
one.
Tank took that fight on 2 days' notice,
Right.
and the fight went 6.5 minutes. For the first 6 minutes, guess
Ooh.
what happened? Tank whooped his ass,
yeah
Really?
right until he ran out of gas,
Dang.
and then the
yeah
UFC champion beat him. But there's a lot of fights like that in Tank's career where he lost.
Yeah.
There's an underlying circumstance
didn't
that
Mir
Watch the
fight
fight.
him? Didn't get a leg heel hook or something on him?
Who?
Frank Mir.
Frank
Frank
Mir.
Mir got a
I think
toehold
so.
on
Yeah
Tank. Yep.
yeah.
But Tank was old by then. But
Well,
see,
I would have to disagree with you as far as him not getting respect. 'Cause it takes for somebody to get on the Rogan and be respected the way
oh yeah,
Rogan
yeah,
respected. I mean, Rogan talked to him like he was you know, the guy who started it all. I mean, and,
Right. I mean,
of
in a
course,
way he
Rogan
was,
does
you
that.
know.
Rogan, yeah, he was part of it, but Rogan does that. He does show these guys, and he knows what it takes. Rogan's not a fighter. I mean, he's done his thing, but he knows what guys. I mean, he's there. He knows what these guys are going through, and
Yeah.
what it takes to get in there and do what
Well,
do it.
I remember you always telling me Danny, the second round's coming. That was like what I heard at night when I lay down and closed my eyes. I heard his mouth
Yeah.
saying, Danny, the second round's coming, dude. You got to get in the gym. But
Yeah.
I mean, I hate it, it's sad but
He
true.
he kept proving me wrong until the second round finally
Right.
came.
Well,
Yeah.
at 9-0, right?
Hmm.
And he's going, Danny, the second round's coming. And that was, I went on a drinking binge out in Alabama, drank Alabama Slammers, put on 19 pounds. Over the weekend, I called him up and said, Joe, I'm 19 pounds overweight. He's like, no, you're not, dude. We were so close. You're wrong. I go, well, I just tried to truck stop, guess your weight, put a quarter in. Sure enough, he goes, meet me at the gym. I was like, well, I'm not in Kentucky at the moment.
Yeah.
He's like, have you been drinking? I said, yeah. I cut 19 pounds overnight, long story short. And every time he touched me, John, it just, wherever he hit me, it went ugly. Like that bad orange, man, in the crisp drawer, that you forgot about for 6 months.
Yeah.
And I was 9-0 and I fought him. And I had signed a contract saying I'll get down to 211. I'm a man of my word, man. If I say I'm going to fight you,
Yeah.
nothing's going to stop that. If I say I'm going to fight you at 211, I will die trying. And he about killed me trying
Yeah.
to get
It was
there.
way too much of a cut.
Way too
Yeah.
much. Everybody's asking me if I was on meth.
Yeah.
That's how bad I looked.
Yeah, he got delirious when we
I
were
was,
sweating it
yeah, I
out,
forgot
riding
about
bikes
that.
with sweatsuits on.
Yeah.
Which did you ever did you always fight heavyweight?
Well, I fought wherever the promoter was going to give me money to fight.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I never wanted to feel like I was hiding from somebody, and I felt like
Same.
I
You're
wanted to.
not going to say no to
Yeah,
anybody,
when
no
they
matter how
offered me a
big.
fight at super heavyweight, I fought
Yeah,
up a weight class.
right.
When
Yeah.
they offered me a fight at heavyweight, I did it. When I got offered a fight at light heavyweight, I
See, you and I
I,
were,
I
I
got
feel
close. I
like,
got to 219, I believe. And I had went, guys, 14 years without ever getting knocked down, without ever getting knocked out, without ever getting rocked. And I agreed to that fight at 205. And so I'm trying to get down there. It's the day before, and I pass out twice in the sauna. And they call it the gym I was at calls the paramedics. I'm scared to death they're going to let the promoter know and he's going to cancel it. So I'm hiding all this.
yeah.
Well, I end up smoothing it over, and Jelly Roll's in my corner, and all
Wait,
these.
wait, 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 wait.
He was friends with Jelly Roll before Jelly Roll was Jelly Roll.
Did you just say Jelly Roll was in your corner?
Yeah, Jelly was in my corner, and I
Damn.
had never been knocked out, and I had cut this weight, and that's another thing. Like, it takes your chin from you,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And so it's the first punch of the fight. I did a swan dive to the floor, and it was the first time in my career, and it was in front of my guys that I looked up to. They were in my
Yeah,
corner, but I think the human head can only take so many punches
I'm
because it
with you.
happens to everybody. Vanderlei Silva, Chuck
Yes,
Liddell.
Sure.
Your
yes,
head can only take so many. And then I went 14 years without ever getting knocked down, and
right.
then 3 fights back to back to back. It happened 3 times
Yeah.
in a row. So um, I think your head just has a number, and when you
Yes,
get there, it don't react to punishment anymore.
yep.
And I hit that number.
Yeah.
It took you a long time to realize that, John.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, people ask me for years. Somebody asked me just the other day at the grocery store. A lady at the gas station I get breakfast at where and said, "Why don't you just get back in there one more time? Just
Yeah.
let these young guys that don't know, just let them see." And I'm like, that ain't me no more. I'm a
Yeah. And it ain't
barber
us no
now.
more. I
That
mean,
ain't.
the
But
level, the
but
level
I feel
has
like you
changed.
kept doing it and kept doing it. And I'm like, in our heads, we're thinking you're at 500, like
Yeah.
the first man
I've
at
been telling
500.
everybody, oh, he's got the world's record for most
Yes.
professional fights, and you may. I
Travis Fulton's got the record,
yeah.
world record, but uh, I got
Well,
around 150 pro
let's
ones.
jump on that real quick because I used to when I fought, I would always, I'd end up on a very light end of heavyweight. I'd
That
always
was
be
us
like
too.
210,
That's us.
211, and that was heavy. That was and I had the short, my legs were short. I was always eating, because my reach wasn't there. How did you, and then when I went to light heavy, I think I didn't like it at all because
Oh,
it seems like every light heavy guy out there is 6'2",
Yeah.
and then
And ripped,
they
shredded.
got a snap to that punch
I liked
too.
fighting heavyweights.
Yeah,
I
heavyweight
was
was,
always quicker, I
yeah,
thought.
well, I fought heavyweight and super heavyweight my whole career. Typically, the guys I was fighting was 6'4", 6'5", 6'6". The tallest guy I ever fought was 6'10".
Who was
He,
that, Big Ben?
No, Gain McGee. He fought Tim Sylvia for the UFC heavyweight title in UFC. He was Chuck Liddell's training partner. He uh he beat Josh Barnett. He
Okay.
fought Josh Barnett in UFC, but anyway, he ended up getting a title fight in the UFC against Tim Sylvia, and Tim beat him. But he was the tallest guy I ever fought. I fought him down in Tampa, Florida.
Who was the heaviest guy you ever fought? Is it,
Heaviest,
how much weight did you give up?
he was 420. He was
Damn.
6'8", 420. His
Damn.
name was
Six
Adonis Nunn,
eight.
and I went to his hometown up in Wisconsin.
See, I respected that about you too.
Yeah,
You
and
would come to anybody's hometown, fight the
Yeah.
hometown
yeah.
hero, walk away with the belt and that smirk, and you're just like, that shit's
Well,
fucked up.
Yeah,
you
right.
know, but
Well, he collapsed. My back got jacked up from his weight, and so I didn't have insurance my whole career,
see,
right?
uh-huh.
And so they had to drive me back to Tennessee, laying flat on the floor of a van, right?
Oh
So
no.
I had to lay in bed for a month, right? I could barely. After about a week, I could get up and start going to the bathroom and stuff. But I laid in bed for a month and could move around a little bit. I got out of bed after a month, was able to get to the airport. They flew me to Albuquerque, New Mexico to fight on pay per view for the super heavyweight title in King of the Cage on pay per view, guys. After I was just stayed a month in bed. Nobody knows that stuff. And when I
Right,
said, Tank don't get the respect, it's because if you pull him up on the internet, he's got more losses than wins, right?
Right.
If you pull me up on the internet, it says I got more losses than wins. The backstory for any of those, nobody knows about. They don't know if I took the fight on 24 hours notice.
right.
They don't know if my girlfriend started to argue with me the night
Yeah.
before and I was pissed off. They don't know anything about it. It's impossible. And I told Joe this maybe a week ago, but Danny, who do you think is the GOAT of MMA?
Um, man, it's hard to not say,
I'm
like, nobody asked me my favorite, so that hurt.
yeah, there's
But
a
Dan
difference.
Henderson is my favorite Hendo.
Dan
Just
Henderson?
everything
Mm,
about it,
Okay.
dude. He got he just a country boy like me that was tough as nails. But the GOAT, it's kind of hard to not say Bones Jones
that's what I would.
because of the facts, you know. But also Mighty Mouse, dude. Mighty Mouse is a bad MFer, but
Right.
he's just small, so he don't get the respect that John Jones gets, you know. But my goat, I gotta say John Jones. Not
Well,
my favorite.
Well, here's the thing about that though. The problem is you're putting John Jones in the same category as like Chuck Liddell, but they're two different
Yeah,
worlds. I mean, it's literally two different worlds from where MMA is right now to
yeah,
where it was when Liddell and Tito were going to when it was when you had UFC 1, 2, and 3. Those are completely different training, the way they train. And Jonathan, you're even probably would agree with me. I mean, yeah, you had all the gis and the the guys coming out with the kung fu sashes on and all that, and
yeah.
UFC 2, 3, and 4. And now you got guys that are training. They got, I mean, they've got machines hooked up to them,
Right.
monitoring their diets are checked.
Yeah.
Everything is
They got
scientific.
nutritionists
It is
goes
a
with it.
money making business now. And
Yeah,
if you're going to make money, you're going to streamline your machine, and that's
that's
what they're
right.
doing now. So to put
That's
John
why your
Jones,
Sean O'Malley's
yeah,
and
to put
people,
him
yeah.
in there with some of those guys there, could if you had Tito training like the guys do now, and
But
I
he
know Tito,
said MMA fighter. You know what I mean? And to me,
right.
that's Jones.
yeah, I mean
You
he's
know,
definitely unbeatable with that. Would be
I loved Robbie Lawler too, man. I
yeah.
grew up, that boy wouldn't take no for an answer. He'd fight anybody. He
And the weird thing about
tough as
him was the
nails.
way he would come out with just that one
Stone,
one two one two
yeah,
one two one two all the way across the
a
ring.
machine gun, and
Yeah.
that's why Chuck was. That was so exciting. Like,
Chuck would be more along the lines of what I would have considered you as a fighter because he had those hard stone punches and they would catch you off guard.
from yeah, just throwing from a weird
Danny would
angle.
throw his punch so wide that it would, if you didn't have a real good peripheral, it would catch you, in this area
Hmm.
here.
But I'm looking at your leg, and I'm maybe even throwing a little bit
He,
of leg out there,
Yeah.
making you think that. But really, the whole time I'm thinking, man, I hope this big right hand lands, and
he,
that beer's gonna be good.
I know.
you
All
know,
right. So who's your favorite? So Tank's your favorite. Now who's the goat?
Well, I think the GOAT, like if you took every person in the world, right,
Mm,
every male, and you said, okay, one on one, who's going to leave this room? I think John Jones is the greatest of all time. And that goes for any type of fighter,
yeah.
boxer, wrestler. John Jones is going to walk out of the room more often than anybody else, I think. But my point with Danny was if John Jones, and I think I agree with you, he's the GOAT. if he had to take fights the way that I took them,
Oh no.
Right.
you wouldn't think he was the GOAT.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
he would have dropped some of those. And
John.
the way that Tank was taking fights,
Yeah.
like even the GOAT would have dropped some of those fights because your human body can't do that,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
You might be able to get away with it for a year, maybe two,
Right.
but it's gonna catch up with you. Like,
Right.
uh, I,
That was my career,
I
John.
was sparring and I
You
tore my
know?
bicep, right, and it rolled all the way up my arm.
Oh.
Never could get. I never had insurance, so I couldn't fix it. So I fought with a torn bicep. My orbital bone, I got kneed in the head, and my orbital bone got pushed. My eye got pushed back. Had to get it
Right.
fixed. But there's so
And
many
they
of
tell
these
you
things.
you can't even go in a gym for 6 months, right?
Right.
And
Well,
you can't tell anybody this stuff.
I would lie,
And
and
same here.
I would.
We
They
didn't
would
even
give you a
tell Joe
pre-fight
Nukes.
physical, and I would tell the doctor, "I'm fine, man.
Yeah.
Training
Yep.
camp went great." There was no training camp, right? I just learned about this thing
Right.
14
Right.
hours
Right.
ago, right?
Yeah.
And so it brings up a story. The the guy that you fought for a bunch, Howard
Harold.
Harold. I fought one time for him, right? He had a main event, and I had never been to one of his shows, right? So I went
Redneck
to.
Rumble.
He had a fight show, and I'd never been, so I went, and I'm sitting with a young lady, and we're eating concessions, right? He walks over. The only time I ever fought for him, he says our main event didn't show up. We got a guy that's about 340 pounds, about 6'4". He's got a really good record. I think he was 8-2 or something like that. We brought him in from out of state. He doesn't have an opponent. The guy didn't show. We, will you do it, Ivy? I said, well, what does it pay?
Yeah.
And he told me, I can't remember the number because they've all jumbled together now, but I borrowed some amateur heavyweight shorts
Right.
that was in the dressing room. I borrowed those, and I went out and fought this guy. He had me by 80 pounds and probably 4 or 5 inches, and he beat me by judge's decision, right? A guy that just got done eating nachos was
Mhm.
sitting with the girl that had no idea he was going to fight.
Right.
They celebrated like they won the Super Bowl.
Right.
Right.
When you put yourself in that situation, now people, guys that, you know, in their mother's basements, when they pull up your record and all they see is the L that's next to that,
Uh-huh.
they don't know Ivy was eating nachos and drinking a
Uh-huh.
Pepsi,
Yeah, yeah.
30 minutes before he climbed in the cage with this guy that had just in a training camp
Right.
that was the main event of this fight show. But I can't argue with people. Listen, I wish I could have spent my whole career fighting guys at the National Guard Armory in front of 125 people, and
Yeah.
I would have a winning record. But
Right.
life didn't deal me that hand, right? I had to keep flying to these guys' hometowns and doing things a different way. One, because I'm hard headed and I wouldn't have a manager, and if I'm taking 100% of the punches, I want 100% of the money. Damn it!
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's that's got a lot of it too. But I get a lot of hate on the internet, guys. For whether for a while they were showing the Ken Shamrock Row and people would laugh, and for a while they showed the fight in Tokyo where I lost and people would laugh, and different things. For a while it was I had a heart attack and I've got poor sportsmanship, and it's totally the opposite of what I was doing. But people would laugh and make fun of me and things. But uh, at the end of the day, this is what I've done my whole life,
Yeah.
right? I don't know a trade,
Yeah.
and I've dedicated my whole life to this. And when I got to the end of it, you said you kept doing it. I didn't know how to do anything else,
Right.
Danny. It was either I was going to do this or I was going to drive to Florida to pick up a trunk full of pills,
Right.
Right.
right? And then and I when I learned the difference between right and wrong, and in 2015, I went to Bible college, and I was doing these different things, and I was going to get the gold taken out of my mouth. I've had these in my mouth since I was 17, 18 years old. Right? They don't come out, and so it's like 10 grand to get them replaced with porcelain. But at the time, the environment I was from, guys, this story wouldn't have played out this way. And I struggled with quitting. That's why I never quit, because I didn't know how to do anything else. And now that I don't have that, and Joe can fix cars up, and you know how to be a barber, and Tristan can work on computers good. Ivy don't got, he don't got another backup plan, right?
Right.
And so I did this, and I probably rode this train 10 years too long, but I didn't have an option, guys.
I
Yeah.
mean, how many decades are we
Well,
talking for
here's the
real? Your first fight was when?
98.
yeah.
Mhm.
So
I mean, he fought in the 90s, in the
30.
2000s, in the 2000s,
Mhm.
Last one was in 2021.
and in the 2020. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's
So here's my take on it. And I've watched you over the years, and I've seen where you're at. And to me, I'm just looking at it like, okay, so I'm pretty good at I can build a car. I can make it look good. I can shine it up. I can do whatever you need done. I can weld it. I can paint it. I can do it all. Now you come in and you say, I'm going to run a business. This business has kicked my ass because people come in, oh man, can't you do it for this? Or can't you do it for
Oh yeah.
that? Or you said you do that, and then I'm sitting here dealing with these guys like this. I'm really good at what I do, but that management part, I think that's where you were at is that, and I know what you're saying. It's hard to give it up. You're not
Mhm.
the one taking the shots, but can't imagine what you would have had if you, but, and again, it's like promoters. I got sick of the game back. It wasn't
I
long
remember.
after that.
I
I
remember.
sold my cage to Ron Daly.
Oh, Nelly.
We loaded it up. I went down there. It was the first I had a fight. I was loaded the cage. We went down, set the cage up, and I was supposed to fight
Hmm.
in Ron's fight. And that was right when it was that, I don't even remember, maybe that was in Kentucky because that's right when they started doing blood testing. And I went to, you had to have a blood test. Well, I
It
went
might have been
to,
Clarksville in the Army base,
I
maybe.
can't remember. I know I was supposed to fight some kid from the Nashville MMA, and I went to get I gave blood to get a blood test. Well, it didn't get back in time, and they wouldn't let me fight. And that kid got up in my cage and dogged me for not
Wow.
fighting him.
Yeah.
And I had some other issues with some dude
Now,
guys. Some
this
guys.
man took the cage down, took it apart, which is a job. Drove it down
Oh,
there, put it back up, and was going to fight that night.
I
You know what
would,
I'm
Wow.
saying?
but I would
What you
never.
were saying about the GOAT. Let some of these guys, them UFC guys, do that, man. Put a cage up and then fight in it a couple hours later.
Right.
But no, man, they're turning down fights and saying, I only want to fight twice a year. Like, okay, you're probably smarter than
Exactly.
me with it. I give you that, man. But the way I did it, the way Danny Stoner did it, the way John Ivey did it, we wouldn't be who we are if we had a done it that. All
Mm.
these what ifs, like what if you would have took it serious and trained 4 nights a week and had a good, blah 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 mindset? Then I wouldn't have been the hitman. It wouldn't have been as fun as what
No,
it was. It wouldn't have
but
been the same story,
it wouldn't have
you
been.
know.
But
But what if?
but
I don't
man.
have a lot of what ifs,
I
man.
have
I
no, and I
tried
don't
it.
think we should live that way, but I have a lot of guys that I trained that had the small town mindset, and I'm not talking about Danny. I had some natural talent. Jeremy, you remember him? Jeremy Ray,
Yeah,
natural 205er, good height, good
scary
body, good
dude.
everything. Everything worked out. Won every match. He took one match. He finally lost, and that was it. It was over. He's small.
Broke his
You can't. I
heart.
can't. Nobody.
Mm.
You couldn't get out of that small town mindset. But yeah, you rewind and think if we would have had the just the people that were just kind of watching out and saying nope, nope,
Right,
nope, nope, you can't.
right,
We, and the guys that are making money off of you, if you get the right one, he'll make you do the right thing because
right,
he wants you to make as much money
right.
because he's gonna get a part of it. And that's where I mean, with I watched your shows, man. You were if you want to go goat, if you want to go OG or whatever you want to say on that, I'd put you up there with everybody else.
Same
I
here.
mean,
No,
Same
I'm
I
not,
here.
and
wasn't
I'm
on
not
that
just saying
level.
that. Yeah, no, no,
That's
no, no,
not,
no.
guys. That's not why I said that. That
But I'm not saying that.
I'm,
I'm not saying that because of what you
okay.
said. I'm saying that because you are part of what built. I mean, how many UFC people have? How many champions? You said it yourself that at some point they were just given. You had to go through Ivy to get into the UFC. Yet
Right.
they wouldn't put Ivy in the UFC.
A lot of heavyweights anyway for
Yeah,
that. And it happened over and over again. But you was talking about the older crowd, guys. I don't know. Y'all are probably fans of the sport. I'm not a fan of the sport. I was never a fan of the sport. I haven't watched the last UFC I watched, guys. The main event was Ronda Rousey versus Kat Zingano.
yeah.
Woo. So
That's
you
That
yeah.
didn't watch it
guys,
last night?
I haven't
I
watched
haven't
it.
watched. I haven't even
You
got to.
Do you want me to tell you what happened?
I kind of don't because I have not
I almost threw up.
since I quit when I left SSF with that night when that dude got up because I was
Right,
having some other issues with people I trained.
right,
Just like, damn man, I'd give you everything I got, and they were
right.
I didn't watch the UFC
I
ever,
went through that
nothing.
for
And
like 2
just
years.
recently I started watching just because I like Patty.
Patty Pimlet.
Yeah, I don't know what
He's
it
going to
is
fight
about
for the
that.
belt.
Yeah, I just watched a little clips, and I still haven't watched the full UFC since then. I got sick of it. I got sick of the promoters. I would take. I had a girl who was fighting, and I seen guys, the promoters throw her under the bus just to get her to fight. First time in, she was fighting a professional boxer.
Scotty fought a man.
Yeah, I don't remember
Yeah,
that one.
Tommy signed
I
up.
would have never put her in there
Uh,
with that, but
Scotty, the blonde you were talking about down
Yeah.
there in town, went to Evansville. Maybe it was hook and shoot fight. I don't know. But anyway, she fought that girl that was a man. what was her name? Dylan Fox or something.
Mhm.
I don't know. It was a man. It was
Mm,
obviously a man, you know. And Scotty was tough, John.
Yeah,
She
yeah,
trained with us.
yeah.
All Scotty ever trained with was with us.
Young
You know, Team
guys.
Pride.
Yeah,
yeah.
We was all crazy. We punched you in the mouth. We
yeah,
we hurt each other at practice, and then other
Mhm.
classes would come over from other gyms and go, "Damn, y'all's crazy over here. Y'all go too hard," you know.
Right.
But to us, like that's what it's going to be like in the cage. You
yeah,
need to feel that now because you might not like it when it happens, right?
yeah. You gotta get in there. And I'd had guys that would come in and well, I don't want to get too much off on me, but we would have guys just come in and want to train with us, and they're like, "Man, I'm tired of starting, ground and starting on my knees. I want to do some stand up." And we'd get in there, and then immediately they want to spar. I'm like, "All right," and so we start sparring. And we'd be throwing hands, and then he's like, "Let's get some ground." I'm like, "Okay." And then as soon as we hit the ground, dude, they were trying to kill me. They were trying to. I thought we were training, and it was
Yeah.
just so they could go back and say I tapped Joe, which never happened. But that's what it was around here. It was just constant. It seemed like, and then you had promoters, and I got sick of it. I was so sick of it. I didn't even. I couldn't even watch a commercial. I turned away
Mm.
because mainly just because it was all about making money off of guys, and that's what I mean, where that's at. How many shows did you bring? No telling how many people in this.
What's the
Well,
farthest you ever traveled to fight, John?
Has to be Honolulu, right?
He
the
fought in Tokyo.
fathers.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, I don't. We're all
I
had,
suck at geography. I failed all
Well,
those.
if you
You
fought in
fought?
Tokyo, that's the farthest for
and
sure.
they loved you over there, right?
Yeah.
You were this
Well,
big
the,
animated
the
monster over
people
there.
liked me. The promotion, man. I kind of.
I feel like they almost had you like Godzilla
Well,
like
over
because he was
there.
the leg lock
My
monster.
problem with over there, one, they kept telling me don't get in fights anywhere I would go, like when I'd go around. But it's not acceptable, guys, for women to be in men's hotel rooms over there. It's looked poorly upon,
Really.
especially if it's Japanese with an American. And I had met this nice waitress over there, and we were being friendly, but she would come and show me around Tokyo and everything. Well, the promotion came, and they seen her in my room. They thought she was a prostitute or something, but I had only taken one guy with me to corner me. And so I had another spot available. I wanted her to be in my spot. She was going to wear a costume out, and I was going to come out. They wouldn't allow her in my corner. And how did I get off on this? But oh, how far the distance?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know. It was Japan or Venezuela or Hawaii, every state except Alaska, I think, Mexico. There was just 150 spots. It was just I was constantly flying somewhere to go fight somebody, and it just added up over the years. And
Did that ever get into your head? I mean, for a lot of guys flying out to Tokyo, big huge stadium, that would get in somebody. I mean, just a mental issue
well,
there.
I had gotten upset with the promotion, and then they brought me over to fight their hero of Pancrase. I don't know if y'all are familiar with the King of Pancrase.
Yep, yep.
It was Ken Shamrock and Frank Shamrock and Boss Rutan. Well, I went over to fight
What
Pancrase.
was that little short dude? Stocky. Jeff Snowman Munson, wasn't it? Jeff
Jeff
Munson?
Munson. I don't think he was the Pancrase, was he?
I don't
King
know.
of Pancrase?
I
No.
don't know. I might be confused there.
But
Did you ever fight him?
no. I got. They talked about that one time.
Right. I that's what
Oh,
I was kind of
yeah,
getting
yeah.
off on that about.
And
But
then I was supposed to fight Kimbo twice, but we were in Tokyo talking about something.
yeah, so what I was wanting to see is did those
Did
shows,
it
those
get
big
to me?
shows,
Right.
get in your head?
Well, I'll go over to Japan, and getting through customs. One, they tried to fly me through Canada. Well, you can't go into Canada with a violent criminal record, right? So they wouldn't allow me in Canada. So they had to reroute my thing. So anyway, I get over there, going through customs. They find this bloody apron, Leatherface
Hmm.
mask, and everything, and they're looking at
Oh,
me, and so they're like, "What are you doing over here?" So
yeah.
it takes getting through the language barrier, and it takes a while. So they end up letting me in. Then the promotion puts me up in a place where you weren't. It wasn't like a hotel; it was like an apartment, but I wasn't supposed to be there. So I have to.
How long were you there
I don't know,
total?
maybe 4 or 5 days.
Okay.
So I have to argue with the security guard before I take the elevator up every day. And so I meet this waitress, and we're friends. And then, so I'm going over to Japan to fight in a Japanese organization against the Japanese hero at the time, Sato, with a Japanese referee. And I did underestimate him, and he caught me, and I did go down, but I was turning back to my half guard to get back to it, and before I could turn back to my half guard and get the referee jumped in and stopped it.
Ugh.
Like I wasn't out. If you ever watch that fight, but that whole situation, um, it was a bad experience. But I remember those VHS tapes of the King of Pancrase with Boss Root and Ken Shamrock and Frank Shamrock and all these guys.
Yeah, yeah,
That's why I wanted to go over there. And then, but it ended up messing me up with Pride. Ended up becoming one, or it became Rising maybe. And I had a chance with them. But over in Japan, if you fight for one organization, you can't fight for the other one, bro. They're like an enemy, and so they're like, you just fought in Pancrase. Oh, you ruined it because we are gonna have you come over here and fight this. And
Uh,
Josh Barnett contacted me about going over to do it, and it just killed me because I didn't end up liking Pancrase.
yeah.
dang.
Shows like that. I'm not going to get into your finances much. They pay out. Did you get good payouts on those though? I mean,
Yeah,
I mean,
all the things kind of run together, but I remember that last fight I did just because it was the most recent one. Uh, 9 grand to show up, another 9 to win, and they gave me travel and per diem, and then but I let my buddy Jacob Kilburn. He was the one that I took down there with me, and then I would just let other people handle stuff. So I let Jacob. I was like, "Go get my check," because I was going to take a check from them because this was around the. It was Jorge Masvidal's, but Joy Jones Jr.'s people was the one. So I trusted them. So I said, "Go get my check, man." Well, they didn't put my per diem and all that in the check,
yeah.
but they had us staying at a casino. So they said, "Well, we've left the casino. We'll be back in an hour and a half." I said, "Well, I'll shoot dice for an hour and a half." So I ended up making $600 shooting dice,
Mm.
waiting for them to get back just to give me my per diem. So I ended up making a killing on that one. But yeah, they all run together. But yeah, but when it very first started, I wasn't.
Yo, no, I
I
know.
wasn't
I
making
know.
nothing.
Like
I know.
$50, you know
Yeah.
what I mean, for a hotel room, $20 gas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But I was lucky, man. I never really got that. Um, I was making money off tickets,
yeah.
and then they just, I would sell so many tickets, and they started just giving me money, and I didn't even have to sell the tickets. I would just, I don't know, word of mouth, I
You know,
guess, in a small
I had the
town.
rodeo kids on. They probably wouldn't like me calling them kids, but they were on a couple weeks ago, and they were telling me about the bull riding, and the bull riding has kind of lost its it's not what it used to be. But at the same time, um, that means there's lower, but they still pay out huge. So
Really?
he was telling me, he might have to go in and ride a bull. And I know riding a bull is a big deal, but dude, yeah, some of the people we've been in the cage with, I don't know. I'd almost, and he's like, they'll make like 6, 7, 8,000, 10,000, $30,000 for a bull ride. And there's like 4 people. So, and he's like, I know I'm going to be, all I got to do
Right.
is beat
I can
these
beat
3.
them.
All I got to do is beat these 3 guys and I'll walk home
Wow.
with 10 grand, 12 grand, 20 grand. Yeah, I thought, man, maybe I missed it. I missed something because
Well,
that
it's
he is
sad,
really
man. What love him or hate him, the Paul boys, Jake Paul, Logan Paul,
Yeah.
they, he all he was doing was putting on paper or bringing up the internet, like people's pay in the UFC. Randy Couture was about that years ago. That's why him and Dana,
well.
I think, didn't go because he was saying we deserve more money. That we're the fighters. It's our backs that built this.
Yeah,
Why is Dana a billionaire and we're,
well, and even
living
now, I
paycheck to
mean,
paycheck?
they're still not equal to some of the big
Exactly.
boxing ma
I mean,
Connor, I think, is the only one who, and he had to go into boxing to get that payout.
but like Nate Diaz should not have made more in one night fighting a Paul boy boxing an exhibition than he made his whole UFC career.
Yeah,
Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
does everybody agree with
I
that?
really don't follow that either. What's your take on that? Why is that? I mean, boxing can't still be that much of a
No, it's Jake Paul. Kids love him, dude. All my kids followed him. They knew who he was. When I said we're ordering a Jake Paul fight, they're like, "Dad, you like
mhm,
Jake Paul?" I'm like, "I like what he's doing
yeah.
for the MMA sport.
Yeah.
And my kids
He's
all
getting them
hate
more
him.
money,
Yeah, all my kids hate him, but
right? But they know who he is,
yeah, that's exactly.
and
It's
that's
all a game, and I
That's
think
what
that's
he is
where
good
maybe
at, man. In my barber shop, all these old heads, they don't understand that it is a show. Jake Paul is the best in the world at getting y'all, or whoever,
love
the
or hate.
crowd, getting them to believe that his opponent has a chance. Like in the barbershop, John, everybody's, oh, Tyson's coming back.
What is
Tyson's going to play. Finally, Jake Paul is getting what he deserves. Mike Tyson's going to kill him, Mike. And I'm going, hey guys, pump the brakes, slow down. This is exhibition. and they don't understand what exhibition means,
I
right?
don't know,
Me and
dude.
you understand. He ain't gonna knock him out. He signed that PDA, whatever. He can't talk about it. $20 million. Would y'all not do what you love one more time with the middle school guys for $20 million? Damn right
Yeah.
you would.
And
You know,
everybody stepped.
and
Every
Tyson
Mike
did it
Tyson fan out there goes, "That wasn't Tyson." Even they
exactly.
were showing the when he was just hitting mitts,
Yeah.
killing them, and
Oh, they
they're
dude, they
like
were showing
Paul.
that all on
Yeah,
on Friday before the fight. Everybody's hyped,
yeah.
pumped,
That
you know.
right there tells you what it's really up. Guys that get in there and just kill themselves, and like you said, like taking fights out of the crowd.
How many
Jake
times
Paul's
did
not going to do that.
I
It's
got
all
offered
about
some
a
big
number.
fat drunk guy
Yeah,
so many times because my guy didn't show up or whatever?
yeah.
Well, man, there's a pretty tough guy over there. He says he'll fight you. I'm like, he's taking shots. Like, we can't. No, man.
Yeah. Well, and that goes back to that all time, the goat saying, and you're being modest over there, but I'm telling you, there is a fighter, and then then there is this machine that we've built. These guys that are money makers,
Right.
and they train a certain way, and they're only going to take fights this and this. But a fighter, a warrior, goes out there and just lays it all down
Right.
out
Right.
anytime somebody says, "Let's
Yeah.
go."
The first, I don't know, 60, 70 UFCs, guys. This sounds crazy. The fighters are definitely better now.
Oh God.
I preferred it back then.
Yeah,
I could tell you every fight, who won, who lost.
I can't even pronounce these guys' names now.
Right, right.
yeah,
You
And
know?
I don't watch it anymore, but I'm an encyclopedia of old school
Right.
UFC.
Right.
Oh my god, bro, I
yeah.
loved it. That's all I thought about, bro.
Yeah.
See, I had submitted back then you submitted a video, s- this dumb shit, and I submitted a video to three. I got picked. And I could have been an alternate there, and
Oh
I did
heck,
I turned it down because I had to travel and job and family. I was
yeah,
married, and now I'm like, man, that would have been just worth it
crazy.
all. Losing a whatever kind of job I had at the time just to be able to say I fought there. But that was like
Yeah. UFC 3.
three.
Oh, that was crazy. Shamrock was in that. Gracie
Hmm.
was in it. Both of them had to bow out.
Yeah, you had to do a video. I remember sitting in a trailer and up there where I used to live over on Tinsley Road, Iuka, Kentucky, sitting on the back of the couch
What was
talking
your
shit.
video?
Mm. It
What,
was very little of any kind of training. It was just me talking, mainly telling what I
I'm Joe
did.
Dukes. I train
Yeah,
Taekwondo, karate,
yeah,
and I
that's what you
watch a
did in the
lot of
video?
yeah. That's
Bruce
what
Lee
they wanted.
movies.
To
Oh,
submit the video, you had to tell them what you did. They were looking for people that were going to be like,
you
Chuck
remember who you
Liddell,
sent
yeah.
it to?
Well, not even that. I think they were looking. Yeah, it was.
Art Davy?
I can't. That's a long time ago. Yeah. Hold. Hmm? All right.
posture now.
Yeah, I got to straighten up. So as I say, oh yeah, so it was just yeah, but they were looking for somebody like those ninjutsu guys. They wanted the hype. So when that little thing comes up on the screen, people will be like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, this is," and then
What was your discipline?
then like a little bit of jujitsu and some taekwondo. I mean, I'd had very little.
Was it Japanese jiu-jitsu or Brazilian jiu-jitsu? What?
Brazilian jiu-jitsu,
Brazilian
yeah, yeah.
jiu-jitsu.
So I went in at taekwondo when I was a kid, and then I got a black belt when I was 13 or 14, and did all that for a while. And then I started kickboxing, and then from kickboxing, had a pretty good run on that, but it was all amateur. And then
That's
got
where the
into just,
legend of Joe Dukes came from in Livingston County. You know
hmm
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then take that,
and
and he had
then
a wife that was also a fighter. I mean,
hmm
she kicked me as hard as anybody's ever kicked me in the
yeah,
gym. And then Tristan, I remember him. He was this tall, 3'5", playing a Game Boy, and Joe sitting here holding mats, and Tristan's just the most perfect snap kicks out to the side.
yeah,
But bro, he's not even taking his game
yeah.
off the Game Boy,
He could
right?
care less
He's just
about it
doing
back
it
then.
out of instinct. Like that's how good,
Yeah,
he was at it.
big fish,
The,
the little
you
pond
know,
kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then I got jujitsu. Then I started training 10 plant or yeah, with Bravo. And nobody around here was doing anything like that. So I was snatching up Brazilian black belts and getting them with go-go platas and some weird crap. And I was a big guy, and I'd fight from
he's
the
very
bottom.
flexible, John.
Yeah.
I'd
And
fight
dude
from the
is
bottom, and I was a bigger guy, and not a lot of big guys didn't know how to handle that.
he's
Because I
never
fought from the
tapped
bottom,
ever.
I would pretty good at that angle. So, but anyhow, not about me. Like I said, big fish, little pond, and you know how that
So
kind of
what
rolls out.
was the best feeling, John, for you? And I mean, I can't even imagine that many fights, man. People think that I had a lot of fights.
Yeah.
26 ain't shit compared. You did 26 in 1 year, man.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's every day, man. Basically, you're about traveling somewhere else, right? But I mean, what
Yeah.
was that
It
big
was,
feeling, the moment? Like mine, the first guy that I knocked out cold and the
yeah.
place erupted. I knew then I liked
Yeah.
that feeling. You know, that was
Yeah.
a high that only that can give you that feeling. What was that for you? What was that big
Um,
feeling when you knew?
well, when I told you I would go to Hollywood Video and Blockbuster and rent these VHS tapes,
And they were back there with like the dirty movies back then,
Yeah.
right?
right? You
That's
just
Yeah.
where we
walk
had to
through the
get
little
them.
I mean,
bleeded
Yeah, yeah. Same with
thing.
yeah.
us.
But so I would rent them all. Well, I rented, I think it was UFC 15, and this big Harley Davidson guy walks out. He's got a black shirt on, it's sleeveless, tattoos up and down his arm. His name was Dirty Harry Moskowitz, and he fights Alex Chief Hunter, and they go to a judge's decision. Well, then UFC 17, I get because it's I believe that was Tank Abbott against Hugo Duarte. Well, on the undercard was Dirty Harry Moskowitz, and when I watched him walk out on the VHS tape, I remember thinking, I don't know if this is for me, because he was like 6'5". He was intimidating. I got a call like 2 years later. John, we want you to come down to New Orleans. We got you scheduled to fight Dirty Harry Moskowitz.
Oh.
When I heard that on the phone, I thought, just my luck. Well,
Hmm.
so I get down there. Well, long story short, I ended up popping his knee in about 30 seconds, leg locked him, he tapped, beating a UFC vet that I had watched on that VHS tape from Hollywood Video.
Right.
Um, that's when I thought, okay. Well, and when I thought I'd really make it, I got to fight against Dan to be Severin up in Boston, Massachusetts. Fly up there. They pick me and Dan up from the airport at the same time. I'm sitting behind him. Dan's head is this big, sitting in the Yukon in front of me, right, going to the motel. And I'm thinking, if I throw anything at all, I can't miss this fight.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Hell of a
It was
target.
huge. And so I go up there. I check into the hotel room. There's a used condom in my room. They got me in the
Ugh.
gutter, just a terrible place. And I thought this was going to be where I made it, you know.
Yeah.
And Dan ends up beating me by judge's decision, which that's the one decision, guys. And I lost a bunch of them.
But bro, you fought Dan Severn,
That's the one
man.
I should have won that, bro. I knocked him down in the second round. I had him in a knee bar also in the second round. The bell sounded. So I had to let go of the lock. We go back to third round. He ends up winning a judge's decision. That's the one fight, and I call it like I
So
see
was
him.
he saved by the bell? Or I
Well, in
mean,
the second round, he was. I had a knee bar on him. But that's the one fight, guys, and I'll tell it. If I get my ass kicked, I'll tell you. That's the one fight I should have won that decision.
right?
Yeah.
And but Dan Severn, but beating Dirty Harry was probably when I thought, okay, I can probably.
And what was your record at that point? Do you remember?
I have no idea.
No idea. I
Was,
would love to see every fight of yours. Like I've fanboyed you for years, man. I've seen everything there is on the internet. I think of your fights, but I would like to see like your fight, what year it was. You know, a timeline. I think in my head, I would like to see. Just my God, how many? I can't imagine, dude. I mean, I know what I was doing, and mine was small town, not even on the same level as you, but it was every weekend, man. It was just over.
yeah,
And like, Joe's telling me, "Hey, take a break, man. You're hurt bad." But we never took time to heal. You see one of my fights, man, and I have 48 stitches in this leg from a bar fight, right? Got jumped by 4 or 5 guys. And so I'm real smart, John. I said, "We'll tape my left leg too, boss. And then
Yeah.
he won't know which
So
one
which
to
one to
cut."
yeah.
kick?
So we used to do it in
And
football.
do you
Yep.
remember what I did the very first, as soon as the bell rung, like me running out, jumping in your arms? Basically, I do that to this guy that was 310. He outweighed me by 110 pounds, whatever he weighed. And first thing I do, John, is kick him with my right leg with the 48 stitches in it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And if Todd Neal or Angela are listening, I'm sorry I lied to you. But if they would have known that, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, I wouldn't have
Yeah.
been able to fight. I had a fractured eye socket. I had 14 staples in my head.
Yeah.
And we just didn't tell nobody. That's the shit people don't know about.
Hmm.
That I know what you. I don't know, but I seen a lot of the shit that you did go through and stuff like that. And that's why I'm with Joe, man. You're up there in the goat talk because you
Well,
never back down
yeah, it's
ever.
just a and for me, I feel like, you get to a certain level and you get that disrespect, like you said, how many, these people that are talking this shit about, the thing. None of these guys would get in there
None of them would say it to
hundreds
your
of
face,
fight.
John
Yeah,
Ivy. I
yeah,
promise.
and they sure. I've been telling people about this podcast. I've been pretty excited about it,
Me
and I
too.
appreciate Danny helping me get this worked out. But I I've been telling people about it, and to me, when if you hear me talk about this shit,
Yeah.
this is like my podcast moment. We got
Right.
Johnathan Ivey coming in,
Right.
and people,
Yeah.
and I'm like, dude, and I don't know you that as well as a lot of people, but I do know one thing about you. You don't want to be in the cage with you. But
I
outside of
second
the
that.
cage, yeah, yeah, outside of the cage, I tell people he's one of the nicest guys I've ever met. And I see people go to church every day, and I'd trust what you had to say over any of that, And I'm not just here trying to blow your head up or anything, but yeah, and I think I'm that way because of that showdown at SSF when I went because I never dodged the fight. The only thing I hated about fighting was letting the people down that came with me.
Oh yeah.
I didn't want to lose in front of
I never
my guys.
wanted to tap in front of you.
Yeah,
I never wanted to lose in front of you.
but I was
Like,
never really afraid of a guy. I mean, hell, it's just
Mhm.
and it was just I always went into it like I'm sparring. It's a sparring match because we would spar like 30
crazy.
times a night.
Yeah, ignorant.
But
Kurt.
that guy getting up in there, and after all the years that I had put in it, and him give just
The
disrespect,
disrespect
I
out
was
of a
just
young
done with
punk
it.
that
Yeah,
had
and
no idea.
I think that's why I can kind of relate to what you're feeling.
Yeah.
You put everything you got in it, you do this, and then all anybody wants to see is the
Right.
those losses, and most of them
See,
wouldn't
I
even
don't read the comments, guys.
you
I
can't
never have. I never
you
will.
can't.
Well,
I don't read the comments on your shit. I don't read them on nothing, dude.
I've made
Because
that
they're
trip
all
into the comments
idiots,
a couple
John.
times and I've regretted it.
They're
Yeah,
all idiots,
I
dude.
mean,
Exactly what he said. Living in mama's basement will
Mhm.
type the shit out, but they won't say it to your face.
well, it's
You
like
know what I
the
mean?
number one podcaster in the world right now. That's the number one thing. Do not read comments
There you
because
go. That's where I
you'll get
got it.
into a rabbit hole you don't want to be in. And you're from, yeah, like Danny said, it's just people that's never really,
But you paved the road for it, man, for MMA. I mean,
yeah.
you
And you
know,
paid the price too.
yeah.
I think you've, listening to your stories about, you know, what the promotions have done to you as well.
Uh-huh.
Put you, held you back or didn't, used you as the proving ground to get into the
Yeah.
UFC.
Or
Um,
they would ask for a favor and telling you that you do us this favor, Ivy, and in 6 months we're gonna, 6 months never came, guys.
yeah.
I would do the favor, and then you may hear from that promoter again a year down the road. You may not, but the favor never got returned, and that happened over and over and over again. But I'm not bitter because otherwise, all those people that write comments about me on the internet and stuff, they would have never known my name,
Right.
right? And look, I'm from the anyway. Y'all wasn't supposed to know who I am. I was supposed to be in prison, or somebody would have shot me in a parking lot, or it could have played out a million different ways. I got lucky, and now you guys you talk so nice about me and things like that. I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
And so the sport did do something for me as far as that stuff goes, but.
So what do you got going on now?
Well, if I had, if I was the master of the universe and I could control everything, I would be a high school football coach,
Yeah.
right? That's what I'm working on right now. But when I started fighting, I dropped out of college, and I didn't finish my degree, and so that's coming back to bite me in the butt as far as working at a public high school. Maybe I can get on at a private one. And I'm supposed to talk to somebody tomorrow, but football was always my first love, right? I didn't know anything about fighting until I just met that guy at the bench press contest. So I was going to college when I stopped growing at this height. I knew I wasn't going to be the defensive tackle for the Washington Redskins. So I thought, okay, I'm going to start coaching. Well, I was taking, health and human performance was going to be my degree at Austin P, and I was going to use that to coach high school, and things didn't play
But
out.
then that's how you met Merriman and Jules. You know what I mean?
That's how
Like
that got
God
met.
got
Yep,
a
yep,
plan, man, and
yep.
He put you there to meet them for a
Yeah,
reason.
yeah. They were both on the
You
football team
know?
there at Austin P. Uh, and those were some good times back then.
Yeah.
When they're
Jules was cool, man. He refed several of my
Yeah.
fights, and well, one time I fought a cross-eyed guy, and I hit him maybe 11, 12 times straight without him kind of doing anything back. And I hit him with a knee right in the face, and he's falling into the cage. And for a minute, his cross eyes went straight.
You almost healed him.
I thought I healed him, like, wow, you know. And Jules goes, "That's enough, here, man. That's enough." And when he's like pulling me off, because most of the time I was the nice guy, right? Goofy
Yeah.
grin, smile, and I was never that aggressive as far as when they said stop, I stopped. But this guy, he deserved it. He was talking trash on MySpace, is how old it was. And
Yeah.
but Jules saw that I knocked his eyes straight. He goes, "For a minute there, you know." He was looking right in your eyes,
Mm.
and I thought I had just saw that. I thought I was delusional or something. But I like Jules. I like Mike Merriman, dude.
So are you training anywhere? Are you doing what?
Well, I get asked that. Everybody says, Ivy, we can't believe you didn't have your own fight gym or fight promotion. And I did have my own fight promotion for a while. I held 10 shows, and I was very proud of it. But
What years was that? Like when was that?
my CFC, Johnathan Ivey Skate Fighting Championship, was 2017 to
Okay, so that
2021.
was after we fought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
17 to 21 was 4 years I ran it. Did 10 shows, um,
Whereabouts?
all in Nashville.
Okay.
One in Clarksville.
Yeah, I remember when that was going
I
on.
kind of do, but I don't know what's wrong
yeah,
with my brain. What
I
was
was
that?
real proud of it. I'm so hands on, and just
Well, you do every part of it, man. So some
yeah,
fans they don't understand what happens backstage. You know what I'm saying? Like how much, like seeing him sweat when me
yeah,
and you was at the casino.
Yeah,
I knew that's my boy. Something's wrong with him.
getting fighters
Why
to
is he making
show
that
and
face? You know,
yeah,
and
it's tough. It's a
you
hard one.
know, people back out. I mean, how many times have you drove? You went way away from home. You get there and they backed out.
Yeah,
And it's like, shit, dude. I
yeah,
was banking on this money,
right,
and people don't understand. Like him building the cage and then going to fight in it later. That's unheard of today. These
yeah,
these little brats, these I don't know.
yeah.
They just don't get it, man. They don't get
It's
it.
it's a different breed. It is a
Yeah.
different breed. Yeah. So, but you staying busy with anything else, or
well,
what do you got going
um,
on?
that. But as far as going to the fight gym, guys, sometimes you have to protect from yourself,
Mhm.
Yep.
right? And so, if I went to a fight gym right now, it would take me about 30 seconds before my mind would start telling me that I can do
Let's go one more fight. Yeah, I do that a
I can
lot.
do one more. And so I have, and that happened. And there was a one more, and there was a one more, and then there was a one more. And then finally, it's like, I can't because I'm not sophisticated enough to know, Ivy, you can't do it no more.
Yep.
Yeah,
Right. Like, if Joe said, "Look, I'm having a show at O'Hara's next weekend,"
Yeah.
Ivy, I mean, I think you still got it one more
Yeah.
time. I would
you'll
probably
walk
do
through
it.
this guy, man. He ain't
Yeah,
nothing.
just get him to the ground. You can do it.
Mm.
Uh-huh.
I would do it. Like
Yeah,
my brain just works that way. I was that guy for so long. It's really hard and I've told people this, like when you're somebody your whole adult life, and then you're not that guy anymore. People think, well, just go do something else. Well, I don't know how.
yeah,
I've
You
never
never
been the
built
guy that did
houses.
other things. Like
Right.
this is who I am.
Yeah.
right.
And but now that's not an option. It's hard to accept, guys. And as I'm sitting here, I'm not up past it,
Yeah,
right?
no.
Right.
And so I still struggle with it, right? I still think I can walk in the gym and tap people out,
Right.
and
It is hard
I
to
see.
watch when you see a chump get a win
Yeah,
yeah,
and you think in the back of your mind, man, I would mop the floor with him. Like, he's not even hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's soft. I would murder him.
yeah,
I
You got to know, though, like, no, that ain't.
I can
Chuck
remember.
Liddell needed somebody to tell him to stop.
Yeah,
I think. Like, I cried the last Chuck
yeah,
Liddell Tito fight. I cried,
that
man.
last third one,
I felt so bad for both of them. It looked like two grandpas.
yeah.
But you don't, he's been Chuck Liddell, the Iceman, for so long. But you need friends around you or something. You need something to
Somebody tell
stop
you the
you
truth.
from doing that. Hey, man, you don't need to fight no more.
Yeah,
Like that, I don't know.
I've
I
been
was,
there. I mean, I remember getting out of the cage or getting out of the ring, kickboxing match and going. I can remember just making it to the third round. I could remember taking my arm and swinging it because just dead and just arms can't even lift your arms up
yeah,
anymore. Puking, bloody,
I was talking
walking
about
through the
that
crowd
last
and
night.
everybody's looking at you like weird. And you go back to the back and you look at your face and you're like, oh, I get it now.
yeah,
But then we're like, why am I doing this? And then 6 months later, he's like, you know what? Maybe I should fight one more. I don't know what it is. It's just something in you. Even now, and I'll watch
It's
guys,
because we're fighters.
and
It's what we
I
do,
haven't rolled in a long time. I haven't rolled
Right?
in a long time. I still look at guys. I'm like, oh yeah, I could triangle that dude. I probably can't even. I can't even get that go
I'm
Claude
liking seeing
anymore.
this new stuff out too, man,
Yeah.
on YouTube.
Oh yeah, I'm watching some of these little techniques these guys are doing. And I'm like, how the hell? What did that? Why did he tap? And I have to rewind it and look at it again. You know,
Yep.
it's a different world. But
I wish I would have went to one of Ivy's classes down there in Clarksville. That's one of my biggest regrets, like not going and training with the
I
man.
liked when I went to the
You know,
SSF. I went down there and trained, and he had some
I
pretty
never even
good
went and
guys
trained with
there.
Merriman as close as
I
we
never
got.
trained with
I
Merriman, but
never did, but that was
yeah,
what I was known for, not training. You know,
yeah, but-
You know, they say don't mix friends and business and all that, and
right,
I think that was probably my you know big regret of the Jules and the Merriman thing is because we started off friends,
right,
and then business, and I felt like I was done kind of maybe wrong a little bit, and then I'm sure they felt like they were done wrong. They were they owned the little fitness gym,
right,
so I was just an employee, and then I looked at it like, yeah, I'm an employee, but we're friends,
right,
right.
and
yeah.
yeah, it just it kind of went it kind of went off the rails there at the end of it. But as far as I know, they're doing great. So
I
So
think I
let's.
seen Mike Merriman might have got married or something.
Yeah, I haven't kept up with him much. Let's switch gears a little bit because we've got. I don't know how many. Where were we at, Tristan? That's all. I guess because we had so much mess up in the beginning. I see your daughter a lot on your whenever you're posting. Looks like you're very proud of her. Is that your only child you have, or
yeah, that's the only one. Just got one.
yeah, you guys have a good relationship still?
Yeah. It was always me and her.
Mm-hmm.
And if she wouldn't have come along as she did, you always think, what if? And when her mom got pregnant, that's the year when I found out she was pregnant. That's the year I did 26 fights, right? Because
Woo!
I've never met my dad, and so I don't really know how to be a dad. Uh, and I kind of learned as I went, but I knew it was going to take money,
Yeah.
so we had to start collecting this 26 fights, and then we kept going from there. But um, my life was just there was a fork, and if I wouldn't have had a baby, I would have. My plan was to go to Militages with Horn and all those guys, but it didn't. And so I stayed. When I moved back up here from Texas, I brought my daughter with me, and so it was me teaching classes while she'd be on the corner of the mat,
Yep.
playing with blocks or whatever. But I never had money for a babysitter or nothing like that. So it was always me and her, and she did boxing and jujitsu for a while. But you got to let kids be themselves. And she gravitated more towards theater and drama and acting and plays. And so when she got out of high school, she went to college and she continued to do the play thing. And yeah, it's I try not to talk about her much
Well, yeah, I
uh,
understand.
now, but
How old is she now?
21 years old,
See,
man.
my
Wow.
I
Taylor's
just
22. But I
ah,
mean, that was one thing, dude, that I always looked up to you about was this man is being a father while still fighting,
Hmm.
a
yeah,
thousand fights,
yeah,
So
Yeah.
I just want you to know, man, that I always respected that about you and
yeah,
looked up to you for that. Because you can tell by the way she looked at you that she loves you. You
Yeah.
know what
yeah,
I'm saying?
Yeah. Out of
And
everything I've done, I'm most proud of my kids.
kids, yeah,
Yeah.
man.
And none of them really, they all went their own way, different things, and I'm kind of glad sometimes, man, because some of the
yeah,
things coming up into fights and just like I said, just putting everything you got into it, putting everything you got into people, and then how that can bite you back.
yeah,
So I'm hoping that I gave them a good start, and
yeah,
being a good dad is near impossible. I mean, being a perfect dad, because you'll think, my goal. I always said my number one goal is when my kids are 30 and they're sitting around the table with their friends and they're talking about their dad. They're going to be like, my dad was a pretty cool guy. He
Right.
was there when
Yeah.
he was always
Yeah.
tried to be there, did what again.
And you've
That's
got
all
that,
I
man.
want,
I mean,
because
Tristan is a good kid.
yeah,
He's awesome.
well,
He's ugly,
yeah, but
but
because so often you be sitting around with your friends and people talk shit about their parents and I didn't have that great of a parent, growing up either. So that was my number one goal. If I could pull that off, I'd be happy. So I hope I make it.
yeah.
But
Well, I remember to feed her every day.
yeah, that's a
That
good thing.
right.
for
Yeah.
me, that was
That was
that's a
yeah. Sometimes wives and kids don't understand, and even like I have people that come here and I had one guy tell someone a little while ago, he said, well, my family comes first. And I'm like, I get it. my whole life, my family has come first. That means my
Right.
job came first. I
Right.
had to provide for my family because they came first. That meant I couldn't be there when I, for them, or I couldn't do things because I had to provide a life for them, and
I had to be a dad first, you know what I mean? Like my
mhm,
girl, their mom, chose another path, so it was just us for years and years. And so I couldn't take that job over at Calvert City making big money
right,
because they don't get it. I got to put them on the bus and I got to be there to get them off the bus. And so I took stuff like fighting you, like
Mhm.
bouncing,
whatever it
silly
takes.
stuff, whatever it takes. But
Where did the barber come from? Is it just you've always thought about
From,
that, or
I mean, we cut our hair. We did crazy shit as a kid. I always loved the mohawk, and one of my best friends was a barber, and he was awesome. He always cut my hair, and so I'm feeding cattle, working on a cattle farm for Dr. Barnes in
yeah,
Livingston County, a big cattle farm, and I'm breaking ice out there because the cows got to have food and water every day. So it's like December, freezing cold. I'm out here in bibbed overalls, getting wet, in December, 5 degrees outside, breaking ice. I'm like, freezing, man. There's got to be a better way to provide for my family. But I've always just had jobs. I've never had a career per se, right? I'm a jack of all trades. But so I go home, I was lucky enough to have a good woman in Megan, and we talked about it, and she's like, "Well, if you're going to do something different, you need to make up your mind and do it now." And like just looking around, it's like I'm too old to fight. Like I know how pretty I am, and I don't
Mhm,
want to get messed up anymore. My brain couldn't handle another hit. Stand-up comedy, I don't think I could travel away from from my family like that. Electrician, yeah, that's good money, but I could also kill myself. And it was like in where I'm from, barbers, nobody's been to barber school in 30 years.
yeah,
All the barbers are who cut our hair as kids growing up. So I went and talked to a local barber, Mike Crabtree, number 34, 85 state champ. And he's the man around there. He reminds me a lot of you. Like I see a lot of you in Mike Crabtree. And I love that, man. So like God put me with this guy that found out he had cancer and needed help, but also I needed him at the same time, and it just the way it worked. Now he's got me going to church with him on Sundays, and
okay.
I love my life, man. It's
yeah,
What
it's
was the
awesome.
turnaround time on? Did you get
Well,
licensed, or you
yeah,
just
yeah. So that night, we decided we're going to go to barber school. So I talked to Doc about it, and he's like, they threw me a going away party, bought me clippers. You know what I mean? It was how stoked they was about it. And so I had to go for a year, drive 2 hours one way every day, 5 days a week. And when you're used to making money, paycheck to paycheck,
right,
that's a year without money. You know what I'm
right?
saying? And it's $20,000 on top of that, student loans and shit.
Well, and when you
So
get licensed, I'm guessing you ain't got a clientele, but so you just take walk-ins, and
exactly
how
right.
long does it take to build up that client?
Oh, John. So most of the men that are people that I went to school with didn't even turn out to be barbers because in big places there's a whole lot of barbers. So
Right,
they throwing bricks through windows. You get out of here. We don't want you. Blah blah blah. Well, I'm from Mayberry, where everybody loves us. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? My
yeah,
kids, they're I don't know, they're awesome. But Crabtree's the man there. You know what I'm saying? He's the barber, and for me to get in with him, he was a good enough person that he let me cut his people's hair. And if it wasn't for that, man, I mean, the day I got my license in the mail, I couldn't read it, John. I was so emotional and just tore up, man. I made Mike open it and read it, and I just was
yeah,
bawling like a little kid, man. I was bawling. And you don't understand, Mike. This changes my life forever, you know?
right.
And it has, dude. Like in 6 years, I haven't worked a day yet.
yeah.
And all I do is talk shit all day. Yeah, we cut people's hair too, but it's more about telling stories, and the people love the nostalgia of an old barber shop, and I got belts hanging on the wall, and
Oh,
my
that's dope.
I
That's
mean it's
dope.
just I don't know, dude. It don't feel like work. I've never once woke up and did not want to go
You
to
got
work.
two chairs in there? Is this you
Yeah,
and Mike?
yeah, just
Okay.
me and
Yeah.
Mike.
And
And now so his wife retired, so now he's almost semi-retired.
Yeah.
So it's me in there by myself a lot, or some,
when I talk about Danny to people, I tell them Danny pisses me off because he's so happy. I come in here, I
Yeah.
fucking, I
I'm
throw,
not supposed to be
man,
here,
I
John. I'm
fight
not supposed to be here,
to
bro.
make it happen every
You
day,
know?
man. I am trying to, like tomorrow, I got payday. I got thousands and thousands of dollars to come up with, in just 1 or 2 days. And then I look at Danny over and he says, "Yeah, I take kids and I don't fly over and get the candy and then,
Yeah.
do cut their hair. And
Yeah.
I haven't worked a day in 6 years." I'm like, ah, but I'm proud. I'm glad for him. I'm proud of him.
Yeah.
I love him to death. But yeah, I do envy that part of his life, man. It's just,
That we woke up this morning. That's all God
oh yeah,
had to
Yeah.
do. Give me a chance. I'll make something happen.
yeah.
You know
That's
what I mean?
too. I have a lot of, I think about all the problems. I got this guy to pay. This person's upset. This one wants his car. At the end of the day, I'm like, I don't really have any major problems.
I
Everybody's
don't have
healthy.
cancer.
Yeah, there's nobody
All my
dying.
kids are
There's
healthy
nobody
and
in there.
good looking.
Yeah.
None of them are in rehab right now. So I'm all right now. How are you? How are you, John? You a happy guy? I mean,
Well, I have good days and bad days, man, and I just
John,
I'm waiting
man,
for the.
you might enjoy being a barber,
hey,
brother.
there you go.
I'm telling you, dude.
Well, I don't think I don't like people, and you got to be a people person to do that. And like the shops in Marion, or
Right on Main Street.
I don't know, like it's probably different than Nashville. We don't even take my barber don't
Different,
even take walk-ins.
Marion, different than Nashville.
Yeah,
A little. The
Maybe.
chicken's
we
different.
got to have appointments in
Yeah.
Nashville. Y'all take walk-ins still?
But look, man, it's like most big places. That's what it is. Appointments, and they
Yeah,
charge $65. A boy come in, got his hair cut in Texas for $95. We charge $15 in Mayberry. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's people we know. I've got to love these people now. They're like family
They
to me.
charge 15. They probably lay you 20 down. Just
there you go.
that's the way it
Yeah,
works. Yeah.
And what I always say, John, is I'm the fourth best barber in that town. Okay, but in 5 years, I want to be number one.
yeah,
You know, it ain't about the haircut right now. Like I know I suck. I admit I don't give good haircuts, but you have so much fun in my chair that you want to come back,
Yeah.
even with the fucked up haircut.
Oh
Like
yeah.
Stoner's fun, man.
You
You
know,
know,
John. I think somebody like you. It seems like you would be a great, like in a podcast, normal,
yeah.
or even a commentator. Or there's so many ways of content creation. I think that would be an awesome opportunity for you to really turn
well,
it
I've
up.
tried a lot of it. My shows, and my talent was I didn't do it. I plugged in people where they belonged. So I had a guy that knew about technology, like Tristan, and
Right.
so he would do all that. And we produced Blu-rays of all of our events, and we had commentaries, and we put out programs, and we did like before the fight, like we do. Y'all seen the UFC embeddeds?
Uh-huh.
Things like that. But leading up to a title fight, you'll follow them at their gyms, and then when they go out to eat,
Really?
whatever. We would do those for like for my main events and things. And so we like I go overboard when I do something. It's got to be done my way.
Yeah,
But
me too. Yeah, that's my
I've
problem.
done a lot of that stuff. But guys, I really want to coach high school or middle school football.
Right.
Right.
If y'all know anybody, tell them you know a guy.
Yeah,
Right.
I will. I'll put that.
Anybody at
I'll
all.
figure that out. We're gonna have to figure that out somehow. Yeah, there's just got to be a way. But
Man, in Crittenden County, we need guys like you all the time.
yeah,
You know, they tricked me into coaching soccer, John. I didn't even know the rules.
yeah,
And I won 5 championships in a row. They call that a
Oh wow.
dynasty,
yeah,
and I don't know the rules. I still don't know what.
exactly how it rolls.
Right, I don't know the rules. I
Yeah,
just give a good pep talk, man.
yeah,
You high five a kid, give him a nickname. I don't know the rules,
yeah. It's
you
more
know.
motivation right there.
Yeah,
Yeah, cool.
Hey, let's give a shout out to the guy that sent me the video of your interview. That's why I'm here. It's because he sent me that.
Yeah.
What's his name? He's a coach there in Marion.
I don't know. Who was it? Shoecraft? My
No,
guy?
no, no, no.
The guy that's he's the basketball coach in Marion Middle School.
Oh, Brian Farmer.
Brian Farmer sent me the video of
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
and so that's what I was like, man. You know
Farmer's
what?
good
Those guys
people.
talk good about me.
Dude, look,
I was expecting when he told me that. I was like, God, they're going to say
he
because
just
I had
got
fought you, and he was the promoter. I was like, they're probably going to dog me now.
No, dude.
And I
That's
put it on, and y'all were like so nice. So I was like, I got to go on there, man.
well, yeah. And I mean, from the feedback I'm getting already on this, and we just put out a little coming soon. We haven't
right,
really
right.
promoted it any yet. Yeah, I can imagine you having an issue finding some kind of work. Because
Exactly.
you're gonna quadruple our numbers, I'm sure
I
already.
wanted the movie of the Leg Lock Monster,
Gotta
man.
It was
be.
coming
Even
out.
if it's animated, I would
Yeah.
watch a cartoon of your life, man.
Well, the book came out and it was sold in Barnes and Noble, and I think now it's out of print. But the documentary is going to come out about me, and then COVID happened and it stopped production on that, so that kind of cost the documentary. But I've just been blessed. I posted the poster that he made, and I said, guys, go follow the. All I knew was the Facebook page, so I don't know how many people on my thing went and followed it, but I told them to do.
Right,
And then when
right.
this comes out, I'll share it and tell
Yeah,
them.
I
Yeah.
mean, just
Yeah.
that night, it's like ding. ding, 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 ding. I'm like, yeah,
I could do this every day.
yeah,
I see
and
why people podcast.
it's not
You know,
something that, and I will tell you this about podcasting. I've talked to the pizza place. Oh, we're doing a podcast. And it's not as easy this technical part and the promoting and getting it all out there. If you have people to do all that, that's it. But it's just me and Tristan. So that's hard, and making sure you're getting people on every week, and
Right.
interesting people. But yeah, I love it. I love doing this podcast more than anything I've ever done. And we made our first sponsor the other day for nothing,
right?
and that we take a picture of the check, me and Tristan. I'm more proud of that than delivering a $80,000 car out here, that
Wow.
we've done. So I would highly recommend it. And maybe there's something we could do. You don't have to be in, we could do this remotely
Right.
and maybe do some type of a joint venture, bringing it in just
Yeah.
an MMA. I don't know. There's something there,
MMA hour or something.
something
Right.
there
Yeah.
for sure. And the
I love
documentary thing you got that intrigue.
somebody's got film of that, right?
Oh,
Somewhere.
there's all kind of stuff that was
Yeah.
shot on it.
I
They had a
mean,
trailer. The trailer's on YouTube. They had like a little snippet, a little 3 or 4 minute snippet. But I thought it was gonna be good, but I'm kind of biased, guys.
Yeah, I think that's something could be picked up too. Easy,
I would buy it.
easy.
You know what I'm saying? I would buy it.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
watch
we,
it
we
easy.
we've been talking about doing documentary and stuff like that. So, all right, well, it's getting in there pretty late, and I know you got a long drive back.
Yep. Well, a name popped in my head. Guys, I
Yeah,
said I
you
was
tell
doing
me.
the Johnathan Ivey CFC. When I decided people have been asking me to do my own show, and I never would. And then finally, I agreed to it when the guy made me a deal I couldn't turn down. But when I decided I was going to do my own events, I said I got to go talk to somebody that I respect, right? That holds shows and is honorable and has never told a lie to me, right? Who could that be? Well, in this area, to me, because I didn't know you guys as well, but I knew Yona Israel.
Yeah,
And
Yona
so
is
I
the
said,
man.
Yona, can I take you to lunch? And so I went up and took Yona to lunch, and I said, bro, I had a pamphlet of 30 questions, right?
Yeah.
And he answered every one of them. I said, well, that's what I'm going to do. Not, I didn't need advice on posters or this and that. I just wanted my fighters that fought for me to look at me the way that Yona's fighters look at him, right?
They would die for
And so
him.
yeah, because you can whatever comes out of his mouth, you can take it to the bank.
Amen.
yeah.
And so that's what we did, and it worked out. But I really appreciate Yona, man. And
Yona was my first podcast guest.
There you go.
First
Okay.
There
episode,
you
Yona,
go.
and then he came back with some fighters. And shout out to what is his name, Keatston. Yeah, Keatston. He just won his fight. We sent him a little bit of money to
Nice.
help promote him. They came back and did a live, and then we did the one with Danny. So
What about a guy with y'all, man? Do you remember a Jeff Davis? I just remember, like, I think Trader's Mall Paducah. He was bleeding so bad. He had full mount on a boy. He was from Mike Merriman's in your camp, I think, in Paducah. But he was bleeding, and the boy covered his head up. He was leaking so bad, dude. It looked like somebody's just pouring red Kool-Aid out, right?
Dang.
So he covers his head, and he just keeps beating old boy. And his name, I thought, was Jeff Davis from Fort
There was a
Campbell.
blonde-headed kid.
Blonde-headed kid, yeah,
Yeah,
in the
I
army,
remember
maybe.
him. Look, that was Team
Tough as
Ivy
nails. That was Team
That's
Ivy,
before it
yes.
switched to Wild Side. But
And see, we were scared to death
no,
of y'all because of people like him.
that Trader's Mill,
Trader's
Mall.
Mall.
Trader's Mall. I think I did train like there's about 6 of us. I had a girl named O'Dallas.
I remember.
I know her, and I know the fight you're probably
Yeah, I
getting ready
know
to
the
talk
fight.
about.
We
I-
watched it. Yeah.
I brought
I
her.
saw her come
She
in.
put
I
that
was like,
goose
"Oh."
egg.
She was she
Yeah.
she swung like I mean
Yes.
when she swung, she did not try to get a single.
I
She
have
was
those
swinging
She
for
was
the
going
DVDs,
home
home
run.
John.
run.
I have those DVDs.
Oh, do you?
Yes.
Yeah. She
Yeah, I saw
she-
that fight getting ready to happen. I'm like, oh.
there was a pop knot on that girl's
Yes.
head the size
Yes.
a calf could suck on.
Yes.
I mean, it was big.
And it knocked her mouthpiece out too, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I mean, it knocked more than that. I think
Yeah,
that
that
was
knocked some stuff
impressive.
loose for
That
sure.
was the good old days.
Did you fight
though,
that
man.
night?
Yeah, yeah. Remember everybody was wearing the green Hitman. That was when that
Yeah,
The whole
who
first
did you
crowd
fight
was
that night?
green. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you who I fought. I
The last
remember
time
a
we
guy
had
called Z.
a last podcast, we were telling stories. I'm like, man, I forgot that whole
Yeah, there's
thing,
so
that whole
much that I don't
time
remember,
period.
John.
Was you at that event?
Yeah, I was at all.
I was there, Joe.
Yeah. Okay.
See, I thought we had only been around each other at that here, but evidently we
Yeah,
were.
I
in the
mean, we've
same
been-
You
area.
had Z, big boy,
No,
205.
Zavon Durham.
He was a bad.
Let me tell you something
motherfucker.
about Zavon.
I want him fighting
Zavon
for our
Durham.
country. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He had
Z,
a Uzi
you the
tattoo on
man.
his
Yes,
forearm.
he did.
Zavon Durham was a handful.
Thank
And-
you for never letting me fight him.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
He was a handful. He's I think
Everybody from y'all's gym was Ivy.
yeah.
I mean,
There was a couple gyms like that that just took it. It wasn't all about technique. It wasn't about fitness necessarily. It's just about tough dudes getting out there and
yeah,
going at it. Not the Rocky mentality. Just not
yeah,
never giving up. And there's a few of those. And we still have a few of those out there. That's why I like that Patty kid.
yes.
I'm not really following MMA
People
like.
keep underestimating him, and that they looked at me and said, "This dude's got a beer belly. He talks like he's half retarded. He's like Mike Merriman asked me one time to stop being so nice to his fighters. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Because
'cause they did. Yeah, they.
he's telling them I'm this horrible person. He's getting them hyped up, right? Pre-fight. And then the night I meet you, you know how I am. Hey, I'll buy loser buys first beer, shake your hand. Good luck tonight, man. Let's be safe out there. And Merriman's like, that's what I'm talking about, Danny. You come up smiling like that, and you're so nice. Like, then we lock the door in there, and you turn into this animal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of us are fighters, man, and some people just want to be fighters. They want to dress
Oh
like
yeah.
it and have the whatever, but they ain't really fighters in
I
their
mean,
heart.
how many times have you heard, "Oh man, I don't tap,"
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then it's
No,
like
And then
first
they
listen.
never
round,
come
and
back to the
yeah,
gym.
The life I've lived, guys. If you knew how many times somebody comes up to me and tells me
How
how
tough they
tough
are.
their cousin is,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, right.
or
He's never been
or
knocked out.
their
500 street
yeah,
fights.
or their best friend, and guys, I can't do MMA. I would see red and I'd hurt somebody.
Yeah,
Exactly.
right.
I've heard that, guys.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a,
You
it's
got
it's
7 seconds there, smoker. You know
it's
what I mean?
it's
And then,
never ending. You know,
yeah,
if
mhm,
I how many people's cousins
yeah,
that I've
yeah,
met that they were just killers.
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, if he'd have got in it, he'd have been in the
I
UFC.
got a funny story about this particular podcast and what someone said about it coming up, but I'm going to talk to you. I'll tell it to you after. It's really quick. I don't want to air it, but yeah, Tristan knows exactly what I'm talking about. It's pretty hilarious. So, all right, guys.
Hey, I
Well,
love it, man.
it
Thanks,
was
guys.
awesome. This is the best. This was a gift, and I appreciate you,
Yeah.
John.
I
I
appreciate
really
you guys
appreciate
for
you coming down here, man. I
super
do.
kind, man.
I do
It's
really
been
feel like,
17 years
yeah,
since we were together, guys.
That's insane.
17.
that
Don't
tells
seem
you
like
what
it.
kind of stamp you put on people, man.
17 years,
Yeah,
It's
man.
crazy, dude.
yeah.
Since you tried to rush me at the start of the fight.
Yeah, I was like, I can remember. I do
You,
remember that, man.
My
I was like,
dad said, "Boy,
what?
what's wrong with you?
Why
Did you
is he?
see him? He had no neck.
Yeah,
It's like
I've never been in a cage with you, but I can imagine. Then they're going,
it
Jesus.
felt like I was on a roller coaster when
Yeah,
he tossed me.
yeah,
I was like, here we go.
yeah,
But then when we landed, he already had me wanting to tap.
yeah.
does it seem like 17 years though?
No, dude,
Nothing
it
seems.
don't.
But there's things that seem like there can't be 17 years, but then it seems like it's 50 years. Some
Right.
things just seem like it's so far away, but it's right there too. It's weird like that. But I miss it. I do miss it sometimes. But yeah, got to keep on going.
Yeah.
So I say maybe we collaborate, get a little something going. Maybe we do this once a month or something. We don't have You don't have to do it here. We can do it
I
remotely.
thought you were going to say you were going to go hit up Harris and we're going to rematch.
Oh well,
Well, no. We'll go play some dice.
maybe we can bring in a PlayStation or something. We could
Oh
Right.
man.
yeah do it that way.
Yeah, last thing, was you on any of the UFC games?
On them, no,
Uh-huh.
no.
See, I mean
There's a video of me playing Tito. If you type in Tito Ortiz or
right,
Johnathan Ivey,
right,
I smoked him. And then the magazine lied about it. They said because I got up and I did the Gravedigger after I beat him on the game,
right. Remember that?
and the magazine said Tito told Ivy to get in the ring and try to do that.
Mm.
And that never even happened.
Yeah, it's all about That's the sucky part about that.
They got funny videos.
Everybody's
of
trying to make
Tito.
this,
Tito out there trying to talk.
Yeah.
I train 6 days a week, 5 days a week, 6 times.
Yeah,
All that.
poor Tito. Man.
Funny.
All right,
Good
guys.
times, man. I love you guys, man.
You
Thanks
guys,
for
thanks
everything.
both of you for
Yep.
coming down and hanging out with me, and it's
I
gonna be a
love you,
great one.
Joe.
I'll keep you guys up to date, and
Ivy, nothing but respect, dude.
Yep. Yep.
that's
Same
all
to you
I got
guys.
right here, man.
Tristan,
right.
get a haircut.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, and then you got much left to cut. All right, guys, have a good one.
Oh.
Thanks.
What exactly happened down there?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I talked to him and blah, blah, blah. He asked about you guys and da-da-da-da-da, more questions, blah, blah, blah.